Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the Broccoli Fanfics, back with amazing fanfiction. This is the series of What If Deku and Melissa Becomes Vigilante. Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Midoriya's POV. Pat, huh. I muttered as I looked around the corner. Lost them. I muttered. Took you long enough. Whatever happened to the whole stick to the shadows thing? The voice I know all too well said in my right ear. My good friend and trusty companion, Melissa Shield said. Things happen, I said as I climbed up onto the roof from the fire escape, but that doesn't matter. I got him, I said. Nice. He had it coming for a long time. She commented, all right, return home. We can celebrate then figure out what's next. Roger that, I said as I started traversing the rooftops. I've been a vigilante for a little while, a month actually. It all started with when I came into this world. Dad left the moment my mom said she was pregnant. Mom died about 30 minutes after I was born, and I was an orphan for a while. Bastard, cursed child, orphan, and the icing on the cake. Quirkless, every bad thing that could happen to a child happened to me. Now I was adopted, which was about the best thing that could have happened at the time. Keyword being, at the time. Turns out, I was adopted by some drug addict dirtbags who for some reason wanted a kid. A reason I never asked out of fear that it will blow up in my face. So I pushed my way through that heck hole until high school came around. Before we get to that, let's talk about junior high. If I could describe how it went in a sentence, it'd be running laps through hell. It seemed that the rest of the world seemed to have forgotten how to raise their kids properly, because it was constant bullying about me being quirkless. I didn't tell them about the other stuff. The last thing I wanted was them having more ammo to fire back at me. So I turned the other cheek and took it like a man, because I had two things left, my hopes and dreams. I have a dream to become a hero, not just any hero, the number one hero. But one thought plagued my mind. I was quirkless, meaning that I didn't have a special power like almost all the world has. But that didn't destroy my resolve. What did destroy my resolve was when the current number one hero and my idol, All Might, told me to my face that I can't possibly hope to be a hero and that I should become a police officer or something along those lines. Now, at the time I was depressed, crushed even. The one thing that was keeping me from jumping off the school roof was being told I could still become a hero to prove everyone wrong. I thought there was no hope for me, that I needed a flashy power to have any hope of becoming a hero. Then I found this comic from America. Thanks to Maya in English, I could pretty much read what it was about. It told the story of a man named Bruce Wayne and how he became a superhero without any powers, just some gadgets and natural strength. Now that got me thinking that maybe I could be like him. Now I may not have lost my parents to a creepy clown villain, but still, I could be a hero in my own way. Now that explains the why. Time to tell you the how. How I became a vigilante. Well, at first I had nothing. I was on my last year of junior high. I decided as a bit of a joke and for the fact that the universe has given me so much garbage that it had to balance out eventually, that I would take the UAS entrance exams. Then the teacher, intentional or otherwise, decided to announce that to the class, and now I was laughed at. Thanks, really appreciate it. Now I'm not stupid. I would get killed if I took the exam for the heroes course, so I decided on the general course. Now I had 10 months to do whatever. Study, train, pray, whatever. I decided as a mix of training and a public service that will probably go unnoticed, I decided to clean up the beach turned dump. It served as a good workout. A bunch of random pieces of trash, different shapes and sizes, working different parts of the body. All the while training with a metal pole I found in the Rebel. Fast forward 10 months, the beach is spotless, and all the trash was piled onto the parking lot for the garbage people to deal with. Satisfied with my work, I decided to head home after some more training, which went on for a while, until it was almost dusk. My parents didn't care when I made it home, so long I came home, so I decided to get something to eat, as a celebration for cleaning and for the exam being tomorrow morning. That's when it all went wrong yet right at the same time. I was heading home after a good meal when I heard a voice. Let go. The voice exclaimed. Sounded like a girl. Another voice was too slurred to make out, but I decided to investigate. There was a girl who looked around my age, if not slightly older, with blonde hair, getting assaulted by a red-in-the-face man. I assume drunk. Regardless, I need to help. Hey, I yelled, which got both of their attention. Let her go, I said. He saw through me. Let go of the girl to walk towards me, or what? He asked as claws shot out of his knuckles. Must be his quirk. He slashed me across the chest, but I took it and hit him square in the face with my fist. Thanks to him being drunk and my training, he was knocked out. However, I noticed there was blood on my fist. At the time I was scared out of my everything. I punched a man and I was going to jail for it, was what I thought. So I bolted out of there before the victim could get a good look at me. Wait, I heard her yell, but I didn't stay for her to see my face. Now the next day, I took the exam with a mix of fear and anticipation. I aced the written part and passed the practical even with being quirkless. Not that the practical part was all that hard anyway. Anyway, I was heading home. Then I saw a red-haired kid talking to his friends whilst walking towards the front. I listened in close behind them. They were talking about the news yesterday, about a person knocking out a drunk assaulter. Once I heard the word knocking out, all the stress left my body. I didn't kill him, so I'm good. They then proceeded to talk about the girl I saved, telling the news and police what had happened. As far as I could tell from what they said, she didn't seem to have seen me and anything about me. Once the story was over, I heard approval and praise. Granted, it was 2 people, but hey, it's better than no one. Now, it was a few weeks before I got my confirmation that I was going to UA, so during that time I was doing patrols at night. I learned from the first night to be more careful with who I am, so I stole one of my adopted mom's shades. Then I stole a leather jacket, a beanie, and a bandana from my adoptive father. They confronted me about it, but I lied through my teeth about it. They didn't believe me, but they gave up after about 30 minutes of back and forth. So when I managed to bust a few assaults, and soon my name, well, more so image, was getting around. News was saying there is a new vigilante running around. Heroes hate me, but from walking around the town, people have some positive reviews. I got my acceptance letter to UA, and everything started looking up. Then, the world decided that I was doing too well and decided to bring me back down a peg. Literally my first day of school, I was stopped in the hallway. "Hey you," a person behind me said. I turned to see a girl. The same girl I saved from my first patrol, even though it wasn't really a patrol, it was just convenient happenstance. I habitually turned around seeing no one behind me, before responding, "Why yes," I asked. Then she looked around before facing me. "I need to talk to you, can you come with me?" she asked. Normally one wouldn't follow a complete stranger, but she was a student here, so it shouldn't be too bad. I followed her to a secluded part of school. "So what did you need?" I asked. Then she asked a question, one I was not ready to answer. "Are you that same guy who saved me from a drunk assaulter?" she asked. I tensed up, but expressed confusion. The last thing I want is for someone to bust me when I just started. "No, what would make you think that?" I asked. Well, when the man started to run from the scene, his entire head of hair was revealed, green and wavy just like yours. She said, That's just a convenient coincidence," I said, with a guilty-sounding stuttered. But she appeared to not be done. "Well, if that's not convincing." Then for the split second he turned to face the street light. "I saw freckles, 4 in a diamond shape, like yours, and green eyes, like yours," she said. "Freaking genetics," I exclaimed in my head. Still, that's not proof," I said. She sighed. "All right, I'll prove it 100%, she said as she grabbed the hem on my shirt. Hey wah. She lifted it up all the way, revealing the scratch on my chest. I saw the man get a slash across his chest. "Now where did you get a slash this big? And don't say you fell, because that's pretty much impossible," she said. "She has got me." "Fine," I answered. "I'm the vigilante." Her eyes widened at the information. "I just wanted to see if you were the guy who saved me from the drunk." "But no way you're that vigilante," she asked. "Before you ask, it still baffles me now how dumb I was saying that." "Why yeah, I am," I said, seeing there was no point in lying now. But how? Why?" she asked, completely shocked by the information. "I'll just answer the why," I said. "All of this started when I was told, by a pro hero I admired, mind you, that I couldn't become a hero because I'm quirkless," I said, which caused her shocked expression to soften into something like sympathy. Needless to say, I was crushed. The one thing that was keeping me going was now taken. It was when I read a comic book that I decided to be a vigilante, I said. She looked at me with absolute disbelief. "Why, you can't be serious." "I am half serious. There were many other factors. The comic book was one of them. Sure, it was fiction, but it made me think that I could do it. The other was the fact that I was quirkless. I was told that I needed a quirk to become a hero, which angered me, not just because it crushed my dream, but it was a stupid status quo. Just because you have a flashy power doesn't mean you can't help people. I want to show the world that quirkless can get the job done. Now the final reason," I said before taking a seat on the bench. "Sit down. This is a long tragedy that is my life." She took a seat next to me, and I told her everything. Again, telling your life story to a complete stranger seemed like a bad idea. But what the heck, I could use a little venting. After hearing the Shakespearean tragedy that was my upbringing, she was stunned silence. "I am sorry," was all she said. "Don't apologize. You didn't have anything to do with it," I said. "So, what do you plan to do?" I asked. "What do you mean?" she asked. "Well, you can either pretend this conversation never happened, or turn me into the police and pros, who hate me for stealing their work for the sake of vigilantism," I said. "Well, how about option 3, she said, which confused me. "I can help you." "No," I said. "Why not?" she asked. "Because associating yourself with a vigilante is a bad idea. You'll have no chance of becoming a pro if you do." "I can't be a hero," she said. That's when I realized what she meant by that. "And quirkless as well." The only difference is that I abandoned my goal of becoming a hero to become like my father. She explained, I'm a part of the support course, but what you told me and the reason why you're doing this, she said, you can become a symbol of hope for quirkless people everywhere. You're doing a good job so far, she said with a thankful smile. So instead think of this as a thank you from me for saving me by letting me upgrade your terrible excuse of gear. She snarked. I would have rebutted, but she was 100% right on the gear. That is how Melissa's shield and I partnered up. She was my eyes in the sky telling me where to go and what to do if I needed, thanks to her setting up her own personal camera system all across the immediate areas like Dagobah, Hasu, Kamino, and Mustafu, all in a few days no less. She also designed my gear, a helmet, which was a literal biker helmet that was upgraded to hack and back. It has a communications device, a fan which was very considerate, and a visor which wasn't entirely black on the outside, but was a screen on the inside. It has 3 different functions. Viewing mode, which allowed me to view normally. X-ray mode, which will allow me to see how many people there are even through walls. And binocular mode, which is binoculars that allows me to zoom for better viewing. Next was my outfit. She said I had to be stealthy above all else, so she gave me one of her black leather jackets that she got from her hometown. It no longer fit her, the perks of being a little bit shorter. She also gave me a vest that she was making for the police. It was bulletproof, with quirks or otherwise, immune to sharp objects, again quirk or otherwise, heat and fire resistant, shock-proof. After that she took me late night shopping for 2 black baggy pants, another jacket in case my current one I currently have gets torn up, and black sneakers. I offered to pay, but she insisted. Do you happen to have 13,000 yen? She asked. That's when it hit me that I was flat broke. No, I muttered with shame. There you are, she said as she paid for all the items. Anyway, back to the armor. The vest isn't good for his physical attacks. Not that those will be a problem, especially with the new toy she made me a little while ago. Melissa made me these arm braces that will allow me to withstand any blow. They are so durable that they could take 3 full punches from All Might before breaking. So long I don't get in a fight with him, I should be able to withstand anything. They even came in black to match the jacket. But Lepister resistance was my weapons. One for foes who prefer long range, and one for those who love close combat. The close combat method is my detachable staff with an activatable stun baton at the ends of it. Should the target be weak against electrical attacks, I could use that. As for long range, a stun gun with adjustable voltage, a basic weapon, but it doesn't have to be flashy, just needs to get the job done. The stun gun is meant to not be lethal. There is a way to adjust it depending on the target. It only has 3 settings: short or thin, average height and weight, and tall and bulky people. It even has pictures, so even I can't mess it up. As for the staffs, they can be used as stun batons, but as Melissa said, they should be used as a last resort, which can be activated with a push of a button. Anyway, enough with reminiscing about the past. Melissa is waiting for me to celebrate. I stood on the roof of our apartment. I took off the helmet, the jacket, the vest, detached the staff, and stuffed it all into my backpack. Then I descended down the fire escape until I made it to our apartment. Thank goodness that her room has this fire escape. I tapped the window 3 times before she let me in. I smell a mission accomplished, I said as I set my stuff underneath my bed. Did you leave the note? She asked. Yup, quirkless, we get the job done, night shot, brilliant. Awesome name, by the way, I praised, which she rubbed the back of her head. It was spur of the moment. The mantra was all yours, she complimented back. We celebrated with cola and small rice cakes. Once we were finished, we decided to discuss our next move. Look, small-time villains are good. They help get your name out there, causing the villains to think twice. But as far as I could tell, the crime rate hasn't dropped, she said, looking at her computer she modified to hack and back. So, we need to step up our game, I said. Bingo, and I know just the guy, she said as she pulled up an article. No way, isn't that suicide? I asked. He has killed many pro heroes, and mortally wounded some of them. This mission will be hard and dangerous, but he is just as bad roaming the streets at night, she responded. But think of the publicity, a lowly vigilante, takedown hero killer. The name Night Shot will be talked about for ages, she added. That is true, we would be popular, but above all else, I want this hero killer to be taken down. That will send a ripple effect across Japan. All right, I'm in, I said. Awesome, which reminds me, she said as she brought up her camera system. So from what I've seen, the hero killer was last seen in Hasu. Will he strike there again? Worth a look, she said. Got it, I'll patrol there tomorrow, I said before yawning, but for now, I'll take a quick shower and head to bed. Hold on, did you do your homework? Melissa yelled. Yeah, I have to keep my cover, I said before washing off the tiredness in my body. Once that was over, I changed into sleeping wear and laid in my bed. So far so good. And if I can pull this one off, the name Night Shot will be all over the news. Believe it or not, I can't wait. Midoriya's POV. Melissa and I were researching the locations of the hero killer. All the while the name Night Shot is ringing around the students. Most were positive, some were negative, mainly from one of the Class 1A students. I don't see what is so positive about the vigilante Night Shot, he said, pushing up his glasses while walking towards school. While what they are doing is a great service, they should just leave this to the pros. But Ida, he caught some villains. A girl with brown hair said, isn't that a good thing? Like I said, what they are doing is good, but they're doing it unlawfully. They don't have the legal authority to be doing their actions, Ada said, and it isn't confirmed that they are a male or female, or if they are solo or working with someone else. I decided to not say anything. The last thing I want to do is to make myself look suspicious by voicing my biased opinion. In class we were told about the sports festival. This is actually a good thing. I can make myself look bad and not look suspicious. Soon, lunchtime rolled around, and everything seemed to go well. Then I was stopped dead in my tracks. Young Midoriya is here, All Might yelled, pointing at me. Don't look suspicious, don't look suspicious. Yes, All Might. I asked, care to have lunch with me? He asked, holding a small box. I have a really bad feeling about this. Sure, I'll go get my lunch right now, I said. Well, hurry back, he exclaimed with vigor as he went back into the break room. I sped away from the students' gazes and pulled out my phone to text Melissa. My code blue, All might be on to me. Me, what happened? I don't know. He asked me to eat lunch with him. I think he's suspicious. Me, how can that be? Did you interact with him before? Me, never mind, doesn't matter. Just don't do anything that could give us away. My, got it. I'll be fine. Nothing will go wrong. I got my food from Lunch Rush, Katsuden. Once I got my lunch, I headed to the lounge, where All Might was sitting. So, All Might said as he reverted back to his skinny form, did you hear about that vigilante? He asked. I have. It was all over the news, I said, plopping a piece of pork into my mouth. Stay calm. Stay rational. Well, I remember him saying something like, quirkless, we get the job done. How do you feel about that? All Might asked. This is totally an interrogation. If you ask me, I think it's cool someone that is quirkless is not letting that stop him. But it's still against the law, so I don't know, mixed feelings. I said. I see. He said, anyway, moving on. I'm glad you're not like that vigilante, and still sticking to your dreams, regardless of what I told you. He said, well, it will be hard, but I will try my hardest. I said, I know you will. Now the sports festival is coming up. You probably already heard this, but you should try your hardest and try to stand out. All Might said, if you a quirkless student does well against a bunch of students with quirks, you will get not only some press, but also some eyes from scouts. He said as he spread out his arms. This is your chance to make one step closer to become a hero. Thank you, All Might, I said, finishing off my bowl. And one more thing, I would like to apologize. He said, for what? I asked. For telling you that you cannot become a hero without a quirk. I could tell it crushed you when I said that, but no, it was for your own safety. He said, water under the bridge. I said, besides, I was too stubborn to listen. He bellowed in his muscular form. That stubbornness has allowed you to try and become a hero, he said before reverting back to this skinny form, and blood spewed out of his mouth. Anyway, I regretted what I said, but I'm glad you didn't listen to me. Ring. Well, lunch is over. All Might said, that's all I wanted to say. You may leave. Thank you, All Might, I said, bowing, before leaving to go back to class. Class went on without a hitch. Once classes were let out, I waited for Melissa outside of the gate. Sorry I'm late, she said, rushing towards me. Before leaning in, All Might wanted to talk to me too. She said, what happened? I asked. She looked around. I'll stay at home, she whispered. Good idea, I whispered back. We headed home. Once we were inside, she told me what happened. So we were talking, mainly about how my father was doing, but he started off with us, Night Shot. She said, what did you say? I asked. He mainly asked my opinion on us, and I lied, saying that while what he was doing was a good thing, he's doing it without legal authority. So mised feelings, she explained. Okay, so exactly like how I said it. I said, wouldn't that be suspicious? She asked. I don't know, I think we're good. I said, there was so much we could say. I feel like that was the most popular opinion on the subject. I said, I hope you're right. She explained. So what's your plan for the sports festival? She asked. At first I wanted to lose, so no connections could be made to Night Shot and I said. But at the same time, I want to do well. Because field training. I said, I thought that wasn't extended to first years. She said, well, All Might hinted that they were. I said, so I get the feeling that regardless of if I win or lose, I'll have to do field training. Whether it'd be from offers or a predetermined list of heroes for first years. I explained, so I'm at an impasse here. No, I think we can make it work. She said, how so? I asked. Simple, do well in the festival. If you do, then you can get offers, hopefully different ones at different areas. So when we find where the hero killer is, she started, then I could defeat him, all the while establishing an alibi of the internship. I finished. Exactly, she said. But it all comes down to you doing well in the festival. She said, well, I don't have to win. I just have to do well enough to get some offers. So the final part. I said, that sounds good, she said, before walking over to her work table. But if you want any chance of beating some of those guys, you need some gear, she said. But wouldn't that draw attention? She asked. No, a quirkless student fighting other students without any help. They'll commend you for your bravery, but they should expect you to have some help. I won't stand a chance, but I'll help you win. All that matters is that you get the offer, she said. Oh, okay, I said. I sat around waiting for her to finish my temporary weapon. Once she was done, she handed me 2 hand braces. This should work, she said. This will help you pack a punch. As for mobility, she said as she pulled out a pair of shoes. This is a basic pair of rocket boots. This should be more than enough to make it to the final event, she said. Here is hoping. We don't even know what the events are, I said. Well, I'm sure you can win, she said with a reassuring smile. You've done things that a quirkless person could only dream to do, so this should be nothing. I looked at her before pulling her into a hug. Thanks for everything, I said. She laughed before returning the hug. Well, I wouldn't say everything, especially since we haven't even started yet, she said before pulling back to be in front of my face. We will make the world a better place, Izuku, even if the heroes hate us, she said with an ecstatic smile. I smiled back. We will, Melissa, we will. Midoriya's POV. Today's the day of the sports festival. It took a little while to get used to the rocket boots, but I feel like I got the hang of it. While everyone was getting loose and ready, I met up with Melissa. All right, now remember, she said as she helped me put on my boots and braces. You don't have to win, you just have to get to the final event at least, she said. Got it, I said as I stretched. What about you? I whispered. Well, it doesn't matter if I make it, she said. Not like I could do it. Right, I said as I stood up straight. I won't let you down. She looked at me wide-eyed before laughing. I know you won't, she said before patting my shoulder. Now, the boots have limited fuel, at most 7 minutes, so don't use it too much, she explained, before turning me around and shoving me towards the door. Now, get out there and get far, she said with a thumbs up. I nodded and headed towards the starting point, which was a massive door. From here I could already see problems. For example, it being clogged from the stampede of students. Like right now, the students are trapped in the first obstacle, the door. Present Mike yelled. We know, you don't have to yell, Mr. Aizawa said. The crowd of students were struggling to escape, but I couldn't waste my time. I gripped onto the person in front of me's shoulders and climbed up. Hey, the person yelled. Sorry, I yelled as I stood on her shoulders, jumped, and activated my rocket boots, soaring over the students and flying out of the door. He could fly, Present Mike yelled. Anyway, it makes sense that he would need support items. He is quirkless after all, Mr. Aizawa said. While this quirkless hero is flying into first place, ahead of Todoroki. He yelled. All right, now I need to key. DAKU. A loud voice yelled as a loud explosion was heard behind me. Forgot about Kakin. You worthless piece of trash. Get back here, he yelled as he zoomed towards me. He was gaining on me. I have to fly. Boom. They have reached the first obstacle. The robots. Present Mike yelled. Shoot, I yelled as I dove down swiftly and flew past his legs, then started running. No sense in wasting my fuel on flying away from the robots. The others will take a while. The robots were frozen entirely, as someone with half red and white hair ran past them before returning the robots to normal. I stared at it dumbfounded as he ran towards me. I need to win this. Stay out of my way, or there will be consequences, he said before running towards the next obstacle. Back to the robots. I saw Bakugo flying over the robots and heading towards me, looking extremely angry. TME to run. I sprinted away from Bakugo and made it to the next obstacle. A gigantic chasm. A giant chasm with a bunch of ropes connected to other pillars. I see Todoroki was far ahead, already past the second obstacle. Deku. I heard Bakugo yell. He was getting closer and closer. In fact, everyone is closing in. Think. I got it. I gripped onto one of the ropes, the one in the center. I then snapped it off the starting plateau and jumped off. Midoriya has jumped off. Present Mike yelled. What is he doing? Mr. Aizawa asked. I held on for dear life, using my rocket boots to give myself speed. The force of the swing was surprisingly strong, but I had to wait for the apex of the swing. Now, I let go, causing myself to fly across the chasms and reaching the midway point of the second obstacle. I looked forward to see Kakin ahead of me chasing after Todoroki. I can't afford to dawdle. I snapped another piece of rope and did the same thing, launching myself across the second obstacle and into the third and final obstacle. A minefield. I see Todoroki and Bakugo fighting near the halfway point. Once I got there, everyone else caught up to me and didn't stop to think. They started slowly traversing the field, but I had to get over fast. How can I do that? Sprinting across would only result in me blowing up and dying. I could fly across, but the moment I get past them they'll just come after me. Wait, I have a plan that's so stupid it just might work. Now all I need is AAH. Bang thud. I turned to see a student who was knocked unconscious after knocking off a sign. Wait, that's it. I ran over and grabbed the sign. It's massive, but it'll have to do. I managed to break the sign in half. Hey Midoriya. That will cost you 1,000 yen. Present Mike yelled. Do you ever shut up? Mr. Aizawa yelled. Everyone turned to me, but then immediately ignored me to continue on their merry way. What's he doing? One student asked. Don't bother. He's probably given up and started trashing the school in rage. Another one, with purple hair and earphone jacks as earlobes, commented. Oh, I'll show you giving up. I started digging out some mines. It took some work, but I managed to pile up 5 of them. Here goes. Nothing, I yelled as I slammed onto the mines, causing a huge explosion that rocketed me towards the exit. Okay, that was extremely lucky. There was a massive possibility that this would have launched me some other direction. I was sailing towards the exit. Midoriya is soaring towards first place. Present Mike yelled as I looked down to see Todoroki and Bakugo looking up at me in disbelief. Scratch that, he's taken first place. They ignored each other and began rushing towards me. I was losing speed, so I slammed the sign onto the ground, causing a mini explosion, and activated my rocket boots while they were dazed. As I was flying, I could just hear the ice forming and the explosions sounding off. They were getting closer and closer as I was getting closer and closer to the exit. This kid is amazing. Who is teaching him? Present Mike yelled. Snipe is the teacher for the support course, but this seems entirely self-taught. Mr. Aizawa said. You heard it here first. Eraserhead thinks Snipe is a terrible teacher. Present Mike yelled. Wait, what? Mr. Aizawa asked. Who would have imagined in this race that the climax would be a non-stop mega mix of surprises? Present Mike yelled as the blinding light of the stadium was growing brighter and larger. The first one to make it back to the stadium is the first place winner. Present Mike said as I broke through the door and made it to the stadium, with Todoroki and Bakugo close behind. The quirkless student Izuku Midoriya is our champion. Present Mike yelled, which got the crowd going. I made it to the center before collapsing onto the ground. I did it. I won the first round. Nothing could ruin this moment. DKU. Something is ruining this moment. I sat back up to meet my soon-to-be aggressor. Who do you think you are? Beating me. A quirkless loser. Beating me. He yelled, walking over with anger in his voice. You did it, Midoriya. A voice behind Kaken yelled. He and I turned to see Melissa rushing towards me to hug me. We need to refuel before the second round starts. She whispered. Wait, how did you? I asked. Oh, did you think I wasn't going to participate too? She asked as she pulled off the thing on her back. I built this jetpack grapple hook hybrid in class with a classmate, Mei Hatsum. She used the one she finished, while I made some adjustments. She said, oh, and thanks for taking all the attention away. I wouldn't have, sir. Okay, who the FK are you? Kaken asked. I'm Melissa Shield, and that's not a nice tone. She said, especially since you lost to a quirkless, and was only 2 places ahead of another one. She said, wait, you were 4th. I asked, how did you? I didn't even. Like I said, I didn't want to get their attention, so I waited. She said simply, okay, now let's go. I said as I stood back up as we headed towards the break room, leaving an angry Kaken ranting and raving at us. What's his problem? Melissa asked. It's complicated. I said, I'm an inventor. My work is complicated. She said, true. I said, he was my childhood friend and junior high bully. I said, which caused her look to soften to summer. He had a quirk. I didn't, and now he treated me as an underling below him. I said as we went inside, so add that to the list of reason why I'm doing this. I said as I took off my boots for her to refuel. Well, you beat him, she said, so that will at least knock him down a peg. That, or make him angrier. I said, well, when you beat him again, that will really shatter his ego. She said as she handed me back my boots. All right, I have a bunch of fuel canisters here, at least 5 left in case you make it to the finals. She said as she stuffed her bag into the locker. Will everyone please come down to the main stage? Midnight said. Well, that's our cue, Melissa said. She and I headed back down to center stage. Once we were there, the next event was explained. It was a cavalry battle, where everyone has bandanas that different point values, and whomever has the most points at the end wins. There are other semantics as well, like if the person who is on top falls onto the floor, their whole group is eliminated. The top 4 groups will advance. 42nd place has the lowest with 5 points, and the values go up by increments of 5, and the person that got first is worth 10 million points. Midnight yelled. How does that make any sense? I looked around to see everyone glaring at me like starved animals. This is extremely creepy, guys. I said, but this is fine. This is what I get for deciding to go for first. Besides, if I win this event as well, then I'll surely get a lot of offers. Midnight allowed us 30 minutes to make our teams or 2-4 people. I immediately moved towards Melissa. Melissa, I need your help. I said. Huh, oh yeah, that's a smart idea. She said, I have the 4th highest point value, and with my jetpack I could help you with air mobility. She explained. Exactly, but we need more people. But who in their right mind would You, a loud voice yelled. A pink-haired girl with cross goggles ran towards us. I need your points. Oh, hey Melissa, what's up? Anyway, I need your points to get attention from my babies. Babies? I asked. This is Hatsum, my partner in the support course, and it's what she calls her inventions. Melissa explained. Haha, now, please let me into your team, she exclaimed. Actually, that's perfect, I said before nudging towards the far-off wall. We'll discuss strategy over there, I said. We walked over to the far wall. All right. Now with you two and your jetpacks, you can allow us to take to the skies, at least until 7 minutes are left, I said. Oh, I see, Melissa exclaimed. Then you can just take to the skies and run out the clock. It's not the most showy win, but all I care about is winning. Or getting super far, I said. Ha, works for me. I get to show off my marvelous baby number 23. Hatsum cackled. Soon time was up, and we got into positions. Remember, fly for as long as you can. They'll be going after me. Should the situation call for it, I will fly away to get the heat off of you all, I said. Hopefully, it won't come to that, Melissa said. Is everyone ready? Midnight yelled. Let's show them. Get set. The power, go, of the quirkless, I yelled. But I have a quirk, Hatsum stated. Oh, let's just ignore that awkward moment. Everyone rushed towards us like we expected. Once they got closer, Hatsum and Melissa activated their jetpacks and took to the skies. DKU, Kakin yelled as he launched towards us. Get your ass back here. Shoot, I yelled. Sorry, I have to get him off our tail, I said as I jumped towards him. He reached out to grab my headband. But thanks to my experience being night shot, I pushed Kakin's hand away, swiped his headband, and then gripped his arm. What? He yelled. Sorry, I muttered before pulling on his arms and throwing him back onto the ground. Then some sort of strand latched onto him. Geez, why'd you do that for? The boy who grabbed him yelled as he pulled Kakin back in. Now you lost your points. Shut up and get me back up there, Kakin yelled. I flew back onto Melissa and Hatsum. Are you guys all right? I asked. Yes, we're fine, Melissa said. Picky Kane, Hatsum said. We continued flying until some purple balls were being launched at us. After some swift air dodges, we turned to see who was attacking us. A student, with some sort of dome over his back, has a small crevice for someone to launch balls from. H-a-h-a-h-a. Boisterous laughter was heard. You won't SB, you quirkless nobody. A boy with purple balls on his head yelled, sticking his head out to taunt me. Izuku, don't, Melissa said. I was tempted to jump off and kick that guy to the ground. But I suppressed my anger. If he makes it to the final event, then I'll show him what a quirkless could do. Then, I heard noises. Sputter. Shoot. Oh, guys, Hatsum said. What's wrong? I asked as I turned to see black smoke emanating from Hatsum's jetpack. Ooh, did I mention this was an alpha build? Hatsum asked. We're landing. Get ready for an onslaught, Melissa said as we made it back to land. Looking at everyone else who surrounded us, I looked frantically for the time limit. 10 minutes left. We just need to hold out for 3 minutes. Then I could take to the skies and cement our advancement. But 3 minutes is a lot of time. Come on, let's take this quirkless boy down. One boy, an iron one, said. He can't take us all on. He's at a disadvantage naturally. Another one said. This time it's a girl with orange blonde hair. Don't listen to them, Izuku. You'll get your chance, Melissa said. I'm fine, I said as I looked at the others. And not a no Cubio Erat Matt. I commented. Did you really just quote that from Yu-Gi-Oh? Melissa whispered. SHH, I said that to make me sound cooler. I whispered back. The remaining groups rushed towards us, while the timer was slowly counting down. 7 minutes left. I activated my braces and got ready to use my boots. I'm ready to defend my bandana with my life. Then everyone was frozen to the ground. But the one group yelled before one team ran around to swipe most of their bandanas. Sorry, but the 10 million is mine, Todoroki said as he created an ice dome around us. Now, you can't fly away. 5 minutes left. I heard Present Mike yell. So quirkless, what's your move? The girl in front with black hair asked. My move is to win, I said, even if I have to go through all of you to do so. I said. Bold words. The man in front yelled. But can you handle this? He asked as he hunched over as I saw his calves expel blue flames. RECIPRO burst. He yelled as he rushed towards us. Todoroki reached out, but I blocked his grab and shoved their group away. What? Todoroki asked. Nice trick. But you underestimated us, I said as we turned around to face them. Never underestimate the quirkless, I said. Ida. After them, Todoroki yelled. But Ida's calves expelled black smoke. Shoot, engines are stalled, he said. NTGH, Kaminari, Todoroki yelled. Got it. Indiscriminate shock 1.3 million volts. The yellow-haired boy, Kaminari, yelled as he emanated an electric shock. I got this, Hatsum yelled as she jammed a metal rod onto the ground as we ran away from the blast. The electric blast was moving towards the metal rod, which was being absorbed into the ground. Who? Kaminari said, looking dazed. Great, Todoroki muttered. As Present Mike was heard outside the dome, 1 minute left. He yelled, Deku, Todoroki. A loud and angry voice was heard. Kakin. I turned to see steam emanating from the ice directly behind us. Get away from that wall. I yelled. 30 seconds left. Present Mike yelled as Kakin broke through the ice and rushed towards us. Who has the points? Kakin yelled, then looked at the 10 million point headband on my head. Deku. I jumped off and flew away from him as Kakin was chasing after me, while Todoroki took a bow from the girl. It was getting harder to dodge both Kakin's advances and Todoroki's poorly aimed arrows. Kakin blew my hand away and reached for the headband. Time's up, Present Mike yelled. I immediately turned off the boots and ran out of the dome. Present Mike had no idea what transpired in here, so I needed to show him immediately that I still had the points. Now, let's announce the results. Present Mike yelled as the ice dome melted instantly. In first place with 10,405 points, Team Midoriya. In second place with 1365 points, Team Todoroki. In third place with 770 points, Team Bakugo. And in fourth place with 420 points, Team Minda. Present Mike yelled as the crowd roared. We did it, Izuku. Melissa yelled as she pulled me into a hug. It's a 14-person bracket. She whispered. Yeah, who do you think is going to get the bye? I asked. We'll have to see. She whispered, unsurprised we made it out. She exclaimed. Yeah, I was worried there for a second, I said, before looking at Hatsum. She was fixing her jetpack. Thanks, Hatsum. I said. Oh, yeah, sure, but you did most of the work. She said absent-mindedly. All right, students, gather around. Midnight said as the 14 of us gathered around her. Now, I'm sure you all noticed that there are 14 combatants, so that means that 2 of you will receive a bye. We shall draw lots to determine not only who will fight whom, but who gets the bye. Midnight said as she held out a box that said lots on it. We all drew. I was number 2, and Melissa was number 8 with the bye. Now who was my opponent? Someone named Mina Ashido. The remaining matches are as follows. Tenya Ida has a bye. Mina Ashido was fighting me. Momoye Arazu was fighting Asuitsuyu. Minoru Minda was fighting Katsuki Bakugo, meaning I might fight him soon. Melissa has the bye. Ijiro Kirishima was against Mizo Shoji. Meihatsum was against Hantashiro. For the least match of the first round is Shoto Todoroki versus Denki Kaminari. Who is Izuku Midoriya? A voice asked. I turned to face a pink-skinned girl. And I mean that literally. Her skin is hot pink, and she has horns. I said. Oh, the quirkless. In a fight you should be. Never underestimate your opponents, I said, because you never know what they have gone through up to this point. I said before walking towards Melissa. Wanna have lunch together? I asked before leaning in. We need to discuss strategy. Sure, she said with a smile. We'll meet at the waiting room. Your match is first, so you should have that space. She said. Got it. I responded. This is it. Time to make an impression. Will I win? I don't know, but I'm now determined to win. Melissa's POV. So, what do you want to discuss? I asked as we sat down. We made absolutely sure that no one was around, and we even locked the door as a safety measure. The tournament, Izuku started. Before taking a deep breath, I know you said to just get far enough to get offers, but you want to win and prove everyone wrong, right? I asked. He flinched before nodding. Yes, I want to show them that they shouldn't count out quirkless people. Izuku said, I want to show them that we don't need quirks to be great. I waited a second to let that sink in, before letting out a laugh. Well, it's not like I could stop you. The only way I could physically stop you from winning this thing is if we meet in the finals, which what are the odds of that happening? I asked. Pretty high, Izuku said, which got my confused attention. Elaborate, I asked. Well, think about your match. It's between Shoji or Kirishima. From what I've seen, Shoji has 6 arms, and from the research I've done from the USJ incident, it said that Kirishima's quirk is to harden his body. Izuku explained, so if you ask me, Kirishima's your best bet at moving on to the semifinals. How so? I asked. His quirk is only hardening. With your flight ability, you outrange him and you can just do hit and runs until his quirk gasses out. Or you can go through with the strategy of picking him up and tossing him out of bounds. Izuku explained. But I'm not strong enough to lift him or land powerful hits, I countered. On the other hand, you have superior air mobility. Unlike Hatsum's jetpack, yours didn't gas out. I don't even know how long it could go for. Izuku said, there isn't an inherent time limit, so if you play the long game and stay patient, you could win that matchup easily. Izuku explained. Shoji, on the other hand, will require a bit more finesse. With his 6 arms, I asked. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Izuku said. His quirk is duply arms, meaning he could create other appendages from his arms, ears, eyes, mouths, even more arms. So he could, theoretically, outrange me by creating long arms. I asked. Theoretically, yes, Izuku said, but that could be his downfall. Explain, I asked. This plan is risky, but it could work. Izuku said, you need to let him grab you. I hate this plan already. I commented. Let him grab you, then use your jetpack. Izuku said, then once you are high enough in the air, dive back down and slam him onto the stage. That sounds dangerous, I said, injury aside. What if he lets go at the absolute last second? I'll just hurt myself and thus take myself out of the running. I countered. You're right, Izuku said. Besides, I already have an idea for Shoji. I said, oh, well you should have said that from the start. Izuku said, well what is it? He asked. Simp. Will Izuku Midoriya and Mina Ashido please head to center stage? A deep gruff voice said over the intercom. I'll show you when my match starts, good luck, I said as Izuku exited the room. Well, time to watch from the 1H spectator seats. I headed up there and took a seat next to my class partner Mei Hatsune. Hey, you rooting for 10 million? They asked, referencing his headband from earlier. Yeah, I have a soft spot for him, I said. Ooh, someone's in love. They asked. No, he's quirkless. I'm quirkless. I know full well the struggles we quirkless go through. I said, whatever keeps us from getting caught works. I see it starting. Midoriya's POV. I stood on the center platform, in front of my pink-skinned opponent. She had this confident smirk on her face. Seems my statement flew over her head. Hey, she said, you think I got a shot against Ida? She asked. It'll be important when I face him next round. Don't get cocky, I said as present mic sounded off the match. Begin, he yelled as Ashido rushed towards me with her acid. I'll end this with one blow. She yelled as ran towards me to spray acid on my clothes. I dodged, but I wasn't fast enough. Drops caught onto my clothes, causing them to melt and disintegrate. What's this? Present Mike yelled, as my shirt and pants were melted off, leaving me in my boxers. We got some fan service. The quirkless student is built, folks. Present Mike yelled. Ashido was dazed at the sight. Game over. My turn, I said as I gripped her wrists and flew up into the air. Wait, she yelled as she struggled to get free. Let me go, she yelled. If you want, I said as I kicked her up into the air. Once she started falling past me, I flew back down and delivered an axe kick to her stomach, driving her into the stage, creating a crater where she landed. I got off of her and waited to see if she would move. She didn't. Mina Ashido is unable to battle. Izuku Midoriya is the winner, Midnight said as the crowd cheered and whistles, some for the match, and others for the fact that I'm currently in my boxers and nothing else. Hey, Midnight, can I have some spare clothes? I asked. Sorry kid, we only have the one for you, she said with a look of lust in her eyes. I don't buy that for a second. I said, fine, we'll send them over to Recovery Girl soon. She said, anyway, on to the next match, I said as I trudged my way into the stadium away from the cameras broadcasting this all over the world. I walked past the next combatants, Momoye Urazu and Tsuyu Asui. Luckily, they were mature enough to not make a comment about my state of barely dressed, as I headed to Recovery Girl's office, where Ashido, and more importantly my clothes were. Man, that was a dirty trick, Ashido yelled. Dirtier than you destroying my clothes? You're lucky that it didn't destroy my boxers, or there would have been heck to pay, I asked as I grabbed the sealed packet of clothes. I ripped it open and put on my new clothes, and what I did was well within the rules of the tournament, so suck it up and acknowledge you lost, I said as the results were announced over the intercom. Momoye Urazu won by ring out. I sighed and headed towards the door. You didn't take me seriously. That's why you lost. Get well soon, I said before leaving the room. I shot a text to Melissa. Hey, can I come watch with you guys? I don't feel like sitting with my classmates. Me, sure, come on up. I got it, thanks. I put my phone away and climbed back up to the spectators' seats of Class 1H. Hey, you're here, Melissa said as I sat next to her. That was some match, she commented. Hey, I had to let her get close, I said. I dodged but it landed anyway, causing my clothes to melt. Thankfully my boxers were fine, I said. She laughed. Yeah, like I need that mental scarring. We shared a laugh then watched the rest of the matches. The poor purple-haired kid was absolutely obliterated by Bakugo. So he's fighting Yaoyorozu, while I fight Tenya Ida. His speed will be a problem, Melissa said. Yeah, but I have the air, I said. We'll have to see, won't we? She said as she watched the rest of the matches unfold. Kirishima and Shoji's match was an all-out brawl, with Shoji's 6 arms fighting Kirishima at once. It was hard for Kirishima to handle, as he was being pushed back towards the edge by Shoji. Then it happened. Sorry, he yelled as he pivoted away from Shoji's punch gripped his arm. And after dodging the other 5 punches, Kirishima shoved Shoji out of bounds, making him the winner. That was unexpected, but smart, I said as Melissa nodded. Yeah, but I was afraid to fight Shoji. So this works, she said. Don't underestimate your opponents. I said, right, she said as she continued watching the matches. Hatsume's was odd. It was basically an advertisement for her stuff for investors and other massive companies. Once she was finished, she jumped off the stage making Zero the winner. Next was Kaminari against Todoroki, and it was brutal. Before Kaminari could even do anything, Todoroki enveloped him in a giant ice wall, making him the winner due to Kaminari not being able to escape. Well, looks like I'm up, I said as I stood up from my seat. Good luck, Melissa said with a warm smile and a thumbs up. Right, I said as I headed back down to the stage, meeting the tall blue-haired boy with engines jutting from his calves. You're late, he yelled, giving the air a massive chop. I apologize, I was tied up at the moment, I said. I see, well it shouldn't matter, prepare for battle, he said as he got into stance. I nodded in Gotinto position. Ready, begin. Present, Mike yelled as Ida charged at me with blinding speed. Before I could even react, I felt a hand grip my collar. I apologize, he said as he started to drag me towards the edge. I do too, I said as I activated my rocket boots and flew us into the air. Smart move, Ida said, but gripped my arms. But I prepared for this, he said as I felt extreme heat emanating from his legs. RECIRPOBURST, he yelled as he pulled me forward, causing us to start spinning in the air at rapid speed. I have no choice but to stop flying, causing us to spiral towards the stage. With a well-aimed attack, it had directed my face towards the stage. I had to use it. I held out my arms and activated my braces at the very last minute, causing them to take the full force of the impact. A mini crater was created during the slam, as dust and debris enveloped us. During the commotion, I deactivated the braces to still conceal my braces. That's the match, Ida said as he got off of me. Izuku Midoriya is, Midnight said as I stood back up and gripped Ida's shirt. Not even close to being done, I said as I activated my rocket boots and flew towards the other end of the stage. I saw black soot erupting from Ida's calves. Seems his reciproburst leaves him open after he uses it. Not that it would matter. We sailed out of the stage, with Ida ahead of me when we left the stage. We landed softly, as I let go of Ida, causing him to fall onto the ground in shock. So as you were saying, Midnight, I said as I turned to the shocked teacher. Tenya Ida went out of bounds first. Izuku Midoriya advances to the semi-finals, Midnight said as I extending my hand to help him up, which he accepted. I let my guard down, Ida said. That's an understatement, I said. Next time, make sure your opponent is down and out before getting off of them, or toss them off stage for good measure, I said before walking away. But I could hear and I understand, faintly. I walked to the support spectator booth to watch Kaken's match against Yaoyorozu. And it was brutal. He basically bombarded her with explosions until she sailed out of bounds. Not that I expected anything else. I'm sure he wants to advance even more now just to fight me, to put me in my place as he always said during middle school, and he will. He will put me in my place, at the top. The next match was Kirishima against Melissa. Like I said during our strategy meeting, she immediately took to the skies. Kirishima, being known for close combat, couldn't really do much. He tried jumping after her, but every time he did that she would always dive down and deliver a kick, causing him to fall onto the ground. Playing the waiting game, as expected of the strategist of the team. She won, it just took a while. Once she noticed his hardening has died down, she swooped in for the kill, dodging his punches and landing proper blows. Like I taught her. You want me to what? Melissa asked. I want you to learn how to fight, I answered back. But why? She asked. It's mainly for insurance. There can and probably will be enemies that I can't take out on my own, so having some backup will help, I said as she looked extremely hesitant. You don't have to, just a suggestion. She looked down, before looking back up at me. All right, I'll do it, she said. Great, we'll start with hand to hand, I said as I got into position. Ready? I asked. She got into position as well. At least I think that's an attack position. We'll work on that. Ready? She has come a long way since the month interval. Time spent not patrolling was training her, and she's improved dramatically. Granted, we haven't needed her to come out onto the field, but it's good to know she's ready. Kirishima is out of bounds. Melissa Shield advances to the semi-finals, Midnight said as Melissa walked over to help Kirishima up. I got out of my seat and headed down to the resting rooms for the combatants. Looking at the matchup, I believe 100% that Todoroki will win. Hantashiro is unable to battle. Todoroki advances to the semi-finals, Mr. Aizawa said over the intercom. Yeah, like that. I exited the resting room and headed down to the stage, but I felt a buzz in my pockets. Me, good luck. See you in the finals. I smiled at the text. Yeah, good luck on yours. Me, I got this. I like thoughty confidence. That. Me, haha, that's rare of you having a typo during text. It happens sometimes. I made it to the stage, then put my phone down by the exit, and headed to the stage. It surprisingly hasn't broken yet. Maybe Cantaloupe does know what they're doing when it comes to making phones. Kakin growled and created many explosions in his hands. I'm gonna enjoy this, he said with a deadly smile on his face. I just stayed silent. He doesn't get a response. What? Now snappy comment, he yelled, getting angrier by the second. Still doesn't garner a response from me. Ready, begin. Present Mike yelled. I'm gonna enjoy this, you bastard. Melissa's POV. I'm gonna enjoy this, you bastard. Bakugo yelled, rushing towards Izuku. Oh no, this is bad, I said, which got Mei's attention. What? Why? She asked. There are 3 things you never call Izuku: orphan, cursed child, and the worst one of all, a bastard, I said, as I saw Izuku dodged Bakugo's hand blast and grip his wrist tight. It sends him into a trigger state of unbridled rage. It's almost uncontrollable, I explained. I didn't see it, but I heard it all on his first night. Whack wham, say it again. I dare you, Izuku yelled as I heard more and more swings. Izuku, that's enough. He has had enough, I yelled directly into the microphone. Stay out of this, he yelled as I heard shuffling noises and a gurgle. I assume it was the villain. Night, he muttered before the sound of a punch and loud cracking echoed from his end, as the sound of a thud was heard then after. I sighed heavily. Tie him up and report back, I said. Fine, he growled before I backed away from the microphone. He arrived 30 minutes later. What was that? I asked. Hey, Izuku said before a dark aura fell over his face. He called me a bastard. I should have expected this. It makes sense for him to get triggered by the awful things he had to deal with in the past. As a child, no less. Still, promise me, I said. Promise me you won't lash out like that again, I said, pulling him into a hug. I'm here to help you, like you're there to help others. But I can't help you if you can't help yourself, I said, trying to soothe him. He tensed up at the sudden hug. Before returning it, I promise, he said. I didn't say anything else. I couldn't just rush onto the stage. A scree. Never call me a bastard, he yelled in an angry tone. But not like a few weeks ago. Or F King what? Bakugo asked as he took another explosive swing. But Izuku dodged and gripped his other wrist. Or this, he said as he activated his rocket boots and took to the skies. Izuku then let go of his wrists and delivered 3 swift punches to the stomach. Bakugo flinched at the sudden hit as Izuku flew behind him and landed a kick to his back. Then he landed another kick to his sides. Then a punch to the face. It was a flurry of punches and kicks at speeds I've never seen from Izuku before. Then as the final blow, Izuku flew up high above him only to dive back down to a rapid speed, landing a powerful punch to his stomach, driving him down onto the stage. As dust and debris flew everywhere but soon disappeared, showing Izuku holding Bakugo by the neck. He hasn't improved. Don't call me a bastard, ever, he said, before tossing Bakugo's body out of bounds. He controlled himself. Katsuki Bakugo is out of bounds. Advancing to the finals is Izuku Midoriya. Midnight yelled as the crowd was silenced by Izuku's attack. He just shrugged it off and headed back inside. Hey Melissa, your match is next, Mei said. Oh right, I said as I stood up and headed down towards the stage. But I had to see Izuku first. I headed down the steps and managed to find Izuku. Oh, Melissa, sorry foe, he said before pulling him into a hug. He called you that word, but you didn't lose control. I'm so proud of you, I said, hugging him tighter. But I got mad still, he said. But you're making progress, you're improving, I said before breaking the hug. Anyway, I said as I wiped the tear that was forming at the corner of my eye. I got a match to get to, I said as I started to walk past him. Good luck, I heard him say behind me. I walked onto the stage and saw the bi-colored boy himself, Shoto Todoroki. He looks off. I could see it in his eyes. And no, it's not because they are different colors, but they look sad, like wallowing in his own bitterness and sorrows. It reminds me of Izuku when he had his depression episodes at the beginning of our team up, though they are very few and very far in between. They still happen, and his face matches Todoroki's to a T. He has problems he's dealing with, but it's not my place to butt in. Besides, he probably won't tell me anyway. Ready, begin. Present Mike yelled as Todoroki immediately sent a giant ice wave at me. I can't let that touch me. I flew out of the way, only for another wave of ice to be sent at me. It wasn't long until the entire stage was covered in ice, with me just barely still on the stage. Melissa, shield as Yuna. I'm not done, I yelled as I pulled out a capsule from my back pocket. They said this was impossible, I told myself as I pushed the button on the capsule, revealing a handheld mining drill. But look who accomplished the impossible. I started to drill through the ice. It was a long, tedious, and cold process. But as I was drilling, light filtered through the hole. My shivering hand reached back for my secret weapon, a concussion grenade. Please work, I pleaded as I pierced through the ice and threw the grenade at Todoroki. He caught it and looked at it and threw it behind him, not far enough to avoid the blast. Big mistake. I crawled far enough into the ice cave to avoid the blast. Once I crawled back out, I saw Todoroki completely on the ground, and Midnight handling it better than Todoroki. Sorry, I said as I picked him up. He was weirdly enough light, but I need to win, I said as I placed his limp body out of bounds. To the dog. Todoroki is out of bounds. Advancing to the finals is Melissa's shield. Midnight yelled, managing to recover from the blast. I walked past Todoroki and headed back up the stairs. The finalists, who was Izuku, and I were given a 10-minute break to prepare ourselves for the final match. Hey, I didn't expect that one, Izuku said, but that was awesome. He yelled with excitement. I was surprised it worked, in all honesty, I said as I sat down, though. It was cold in there. I bet you drilled through his ice. Brilliant, he said. I was surprised he didn't do anything else. Izuku said, yeah, I would have expected him to refreeze the hole or something. Maybe he was confused by the grenade in his hands. I said, maybe, but debating over theories and semantics won't do us any good. Izuku said as he pulled off his boots. Do you have fuel? He asked. Yeah, give me a sec, I said as I pulled out a carton of oil. If I'm going to fight in the finals, I want my opponent to be at their best, I said with a smirk. You really need to stop watching Dragon Ball Z, Izuku said. What makes you think I watch Dragon Ball Z? I asked. You pulled out a capsule, and you're talking like Goku. You can't fool me, Izuku said with a laugh. Fair enough, Mr. Inada no Kyubio Arat Mat, I quipped. So let's just settle this argument and say we're both massive nerds. Agreed, Izuku said. As I was refueling Izuku's boots, I decided to have some fun with the finals. So, want to make the finals more interesting? I asked. What do you have in mind? Izuku asked. Loser has to take out the winner tonight, I said. I have no money whatsoever. So deal, Izuku said. I sighed audibly. You're impossible, I said as we shared a laugh as I handed him back his boots. Now let's go, I said. Izuku nodded as we headed down to center stage. We were met by the roars of the crowd. All right, listeners. We have a very exciting final match here today. Present Mike yelled. In the red corner, we have the quirkless boy who took this competition by the horns. Izuku Midoriya. Present Mike yelled as the crowd cheered upon hearing Izuku's name. And in the blue corner, the quirkless student utilizing her gadgets and strategical mind. Melissa Shield. Present Mike yelled as the crowd cheered for me also. Wait, is strategical even a word? Ready, begin. Present Mike yelled as Izuku activated his arm braces. I've been saving these for our battle, he said as he rushed towards me. So we're going all out. I'm game, I said as I pulled out my own weapon and pushed the button, extending my collapsed pole to its max length. I rushed towards him and collided my pole with his braces. I was wondering where this was, Izuku said as he backflipped out of the way. I could say the same about your braces, I responded as I followed him while swinging. Hey, I used them to take the front of Ida's final attack, he commented as he kept dodging my swings, before using his rocket boots to soar high into the sky. But let's take this to the air, he yelled as he dove towards me. I smiled and activated my jetpack, holding my pole horizontally as a defensive measure. We collided midair, as our game of tug-of-war was at a stalemate. I took this opportunity to move out of the way, causing Izuku to sail towards the stage. I took this opportunity to throw smoke grenades at him. Once he caught himself and flipped back upwards about 2 feet away from out of bounds. He saw my smoke grenades, but was too late to move out of the way of them as a large cloud of smoke enveloped Izuku. Now's my chance, I told myself as I flew into the smoke. Once I flew in the wind from my jetpack blew away the smoke, but while he was DZ I gripped his arms and flew him out of bounds. Izuku Midoriya is out of bounds. Melissa Shield is the winner, Midnight yelled as the crowd was in a frenzy over my win. Izuku started laughing. Good job, he said with a smile. You did well too, I said also. What an amazing finish, Present Mike yelled. I regret agreeing to this, Mr. Aizawa said, sounding completely done with this whole thing. Looks like I owe you dinner, Izuku said. Are you sure? I could pay for it, I said. Then what's the point of a bet if the winner is going to do what the loser has to do? Izuku asked before sighing. It's fine, I've saved up, he said. From what? He doesn't have a... Never mind. Fine, I said, which caused him to laugh. You sound awfully bitter even though you won the whole tournament. Izuku said. You won, be happy, he exclaimed. I just shook my head and laughed. Can you imagine? The headlines, I said. I could see it now. Quirkless duo took Quirk-dominated event by storm. Nah, that sounds too negative, Izuku said. I think it should be. Quirkless duo completely destroyed the Quirk-filled competition. We shared a laugh as we began to throw around more fake headlines. Wait, I got one, I said. Students with quirks beaten handily by quirkless students. Story at page 13. I said, which got glares from the other students. Izuku must have noticed. A shocking development. The other students are super salty over losing to quirkless students. Story at 11. Alright, we get it. The girl with earphone jacks for earlobes said, "No need to be a DK about it." She said, "Funny coming from you." Missy's probably given up and started trashing the school in rage. Izuku said, which earned him a glare. "Melissa and I have worked hard to get here, harder than all of you. I think we deserve to gloat, especially in a newscaster fashion," he said. With a huff she turned away. "People like that are the worst," Izuku whispered. I silently nodded. "Well, we proved ourselves today," I said. "Let's enjoy it." Soon the awards ceremony was underway. I stood on the highest one, with Izuku on my right, as well as an angry Bakugo and distracted Todoroki to my left. Midnight started off the ceremony, as Uncle Might jumped from the top of the stadium. After a slight miscommunication, All Might started handing out the medals, starting with third place. Todoroki's went well, as All Might gave him an awkward hug and whispered something into his ear. Bakugo's was difficult, as he didn't want his bronze medal saying it's a piece of garbage. All Might somehow managed to get the medal on him. It's just on his teeth. Next was Izuku's. His went way smoother. He accepted the medal and hug from All Might. He whispered something as well, but I couldn't hear it really well. If it has to do with Night Shot, he'll tell me. "Now it's my turn. Young Melissa, congratulations," he said as he placed the gold medal on my neck. He pulled me into a hug and whispered into my ears, "I'm so proud of you. You'll make a fine hero or support gear designer," he said. "Thanks, Uncle Might," I whispered back. He then stepped off the podium to look towards the other students. Well, they were the winners this time. But listen here, anyone here could have ended up on these podiums. It's just as you saw, competing, improving each other, and climbing further, even if the world already counted you out. The next generation of heroes is definitely sprouting, he yelled before raising his finger towards the sky. So, I have just one more thing to say. Everyone, please say it with me. Ready, go. Thanks for your hard work, All Might yelled. Plus Ultra, the crowd yelled. As a chorus of boos were heard, that was the perfect time to say Plus Ultra All Might. The crowd yelled. GHHW. Well, I thought everyone should be thanked for their hard work, he muttered. Soon we were let out back to class. I was praised by Power Loader for my win in the tournament. He says he can't even remember the last time someone from the support course won the sports festival. We were then given 3 days off to recuperate from the tournament. Once school was let out, I met up with Izuku. Were you given days off too? Izuku asked. Yeah, 3 days, I said. So we have 3 days to recover, Izuku said, before leaning in. We'll discuss the next steps at the apartment, he whispered. Got it, I whispered back. We headed to the apartment. Once we were there, we hooked out medals onto a hat rack, out of sight, out of mind. Now, what's next? I asked. We still need to look out for the hero killer, Izuku explained. While we agreed that doing it during internships will establish an alibi for me, we still need to get a firm confirmation on his movement patterns. I see, that sounds correct, I said. That, and I need to figure out where to take you for celebration dinner, Izuku said. Are you still thinking about that? I asked. If you didn't want to, then maybe you shouldn't have made the bet, Izuku said. Regardless if you made the bet or not, had you won, we still would have gone to celebration dinner. You can't change my mind about this, so don't try, he said with his million-watt smile. Fine, I concede, I said as he lifted me up in excitement. Awesome, he yelled. Then he realized what he was doing and set me back down. Sorry, he muttered, red in the face. Ha ha ha, don't worry about it, I said with a smile. So, where are we going? Melissa's POV. Ugh, where are we going? I asked while stifling a giggle. A surprise, we're almost there, Izuku said. Was the blindfold really necessary? I asked as I let him guide me. Yes, it wouldn't be a surprise if you could see it, he said. That's flawed logic. How would I see the surprise if I don't know what it is? I countered, as we stopped. This is why you're the strategist, he muttered, before he resumed pushing me towards the surprise. Are we there yet? I asked as the smile on my face is ever growing. Yep, here we are, Izuku exclaimed. Thank goodness, I muttered as I removed to see. A McDonald's. Wow, you shouldn't have, I said. TFFFD, haha. He burst into laughter. Oh, man, you should see your face, he exclaimed, before regaining his composure. Your surprise is right next to the McDonald's, he said. I turned to see. Oh my god, a cat cafe, I exclaimed. Yep, a weird business decision to put it next to a McDonald's, but it made for a hilarious joke, he said with a beaming smile as I playfully smacked his shoulder. We entered the cafe, only to be attacked by the Fluffy Kitten Brigade. This is how the duo known as Night Shot dies, at the hands of fluffy, adorable kittens. I'll order us some stuff, Izuku said as he looked at me covered with kittens. You can play around with your little minions. My kitties, I muttered as I pet a tabby cat on the head slowly. He brought us a tea and a coffee, and some nice-looking pastries. So is this the dinner surprise? Because I'm satisfied, I said as some of the kitties tried to climb on my shirt in an adorable fashion. No, but the reservation is in an hour, so Izuku said before he looked towards the window. I followed his gaze to see a bandaged girl who looked scared. You thinking what I'm thinking? he whispered. The apartment isn't far from here. I responded. You rush to get the stuff. I'll intervene and stall as much as possible. Izuku whispered back. I set the kittens down and rushed to the apartment. Thank goodness I decided that yesterday was a good time for late spring cleaning. I managed to move all my work in progress support items to the UA storehouse for the support course, leaving only Izuku's mask, batons, his grenade belt with different grenades I made him, and my equipment sat on the table at the ready. I pulled out my phone to call him. How did I? Boom. Not good. Izuku yelled on the other end. Turns out the guy who has the girl was a demon sand monster. Izuku yelled. Shoot, where are you? I yelled as I saw Izuku rush inside the apartment. Here, he yelled as he dropped off the girl. Stay here, he said as he put on his helmet. Thankfully the clothes he wears are baggy enough to hide the vest. He grabbed his batons, his arm braces, and the belt of grenades. I'll be back, he said before bolting to his room to take the fire escape to the roof. Wait, the girl yelled, but I gently placed a hand on his shoulder. He will be fine, I said. I squatted down to her eye level. He has to take me to dinner in an hour, and he never falls back on his promises. Izuku's POV. Where is she? The man yelled as I stood on top of the apartment. Geez, all this for a girl. I guess night shot is going to have to be day shot for today. I ran towards the edge of the roof before activating my rocket boots, flying far, far away from the apartment. My cover story. Say I was inspired by a certain quirkless genius and made a pair of my own. Geez, someone has anger issues, I said as I flew in front of his vision. Grahhhh, he yelled as he sent sand waves towards me, to which I narrowly dodged them. I take that back. Someone is freaking psycho, I yelled. Izuku, come in, Melissa yelled into the microphone. Melissa, what is it? I asked. Listen to me. Endeavor and a lot of other pros are on their way to subdue the bad guy. Get out of there now, Melissa yelled, before a massive flame spear luckily missed me. I looked down to see Endeavor preparing to fire another one. Shoot, I yelled before flying off. Night shot, Endeavor yelled, before Kamui Woods stepped in. Let him go, he yelled as he used his quirk to pull out civilians. Focus on him. Woods yelled. Can you get out of there without the guy seeing the girl? I asked. Yeah, just get out of there, Melissa yelled as the comms were turned off. I flew off far from the initial carnage as I ducked into a back alley. Police cars drove past the alley, and I waited for the noise to die down. After a few minutes of catching my breath, I called Melissa again. Melissa, you there? I asked. Yeah, thankfully I installed a tracking device on your helmet as a failsafe, she said as I heard the sound of a motorcycle come closer until it stopped in front of the back alley. I took off the helmet, batons, and grenade belt as I stuffed the contents into the duffel bag Melissa brought. Then it hit me. We have a motorcycle, I asked with a mix of excitement and disbelief. Yeah, it even has an attachable sidecar, she said as I saw the girl who told me her name was Eri while we were running from the creep, buckled in with a comedically large helmet on her head. Are you okay? I asked Eri. She looked at me before slowly nodding. Why yeah, but what's going to happen to him? Eri asked, pointing in the direction of the apartment and the giant sand monster. Hopefully the heroes will do their job, I said before looking at Melissa. What about the apartment? I asked. I took everything that we could need in case the apartment is destroyed during the battle, she said as she showed me the other duffel bag, filled without UA uniforms, her extendable pole, which we really need a better name for, her own grenades, and a bunch of other stuff. Everything else was stored in the support class's storehouse in the back of UA. I explained. Okay, now what do we do about Eri? I asked as she looked at us with worry. No way in heck we're giving her back to that guy, I said. Well, I have an idea. I hate this idea, I muttered as we stood in front of Principal Nezu's office. What other idea is there? Melissa asked. We could, I don't know, not tell Principal Nezu I unintentionally caused havoc a few miles away, I said, but she ignored me and knocked on the door. Now, it's your turn, she said, taking Eri and standing back. Before I could question why they would need to stand back, the door swung open, revealing Principal Nezu. Ah, Midoriya. What a delightful surprise, Principal Nezu said with his calm demeanor. To what do I owe the pleasure? Well, Principal Nezu, sir, you know about the massive battle with the giant sand monster downtown that's going on downtown, I asked as he nodded. Well, I may or may not have been the one responsible for causing that attack. I'm sorry, could you say that again? Principal Nezu asked before the radio returned from static. Sudden news update. The villain known simply as Overhaul has been defeated by the pro heroes whom were dispatched to said area. The number 2 hero, Endeavor, says that it must be because of the vigilante, Night Shot, whom was seen flying in the air with rocket boots while the villain was attacking. The newscasters were continuing on with their conversation. But that's all we needed to hear. Okay, so what really happened? I started, as Principal Nezu gestured Melissa, Eri, and I inside, while serving some mellow tea for Eri. Melissa and I were celebrating because we took first and second place in the UA Sports Festival, We decided to kill time by hanging out at a cat cafe. Oh, how did that go? Principal Nezu asked. Good. For all of 5 minutes. Because Eri was running from the villain himself. Though he didn't look like that at all, he was actually human looking. Anyway, springing into action, I walked over to Eri, asked what was wrong. She didn't respond out of fear, but taking a good look at her arms signaled to me that something was wrong. Deciding that I should follow my gut, I picked up Eri and flew away. The man then, somehow, turned into a giant sand demon, heck bent on getting the girl back. I flew away. The pros fought. The day is saved. I explained. I see. Principal Nezu explained. The news mentioned that the vigilante, Night Shot, was also flying with rocket boots. He said, shoot, think of something. Seems some people are picking up my style. I don't know how I feel about my ideas being used by vigilantes, I said. He looked at me for a few seconds, before nodding. I see. Well, any particular reason as to why you came to me first? Principal Nezu asked. Then Melissa took over. With all due respect, we thought it was a good idea to tell you about this now, in case the news mentions Izuku carrying a little girl high in the air away from Overhaul. The last thing we want is for him to get in trouble by not telling you. Melissa explained. Oh, I see. Well done by telling me about this immediately. Principal Nezu explained. For now, take this little girl to Recovery Girl. I'm sure she would want to take a look at those wounds. He explained. We nodded and headed to Recovery Girl, not saying a word about Night Shot and school walls. Once inside, Recovery Girl gently removed Eri's bandages, revealing her cut up and scarred skin. Oh my, what sort of evil person would do this? Recovery Girl asked. The same one that was caught 5 minutes ago, I said. And how would you know that? Recovery Girl asked. Who do you think got her out of the predicament in the first place? I asked. I flew her away. Then Night Shot and the pros came to fight off the villain. Heard it in the radio in Principal Nezu's office. I said. I put a lot of thought into this during our walk here. I see, she said before giving Eri a kiss to heal her fresh wounds. Before giving her new bandages. She should be fine now, she explained before pulling up a seat. So what's the plan? She asked. We don't know, I said. What do you mean? You just saved this girl. Her name is Eri. I said. Fine, you save Eri. And you don't know what to do next? Recovery Girl asked before walking over to whack me in the head with her cane. Oh, it was instinct, okay? I asked, rubbing the sore spot. Honestly, she said before a heavy sigh. Well, you'll just have to take her to an orpha. Don't say that word, Melissa said, cutting off Recovery Girl's option for my sake. I'm fine, Melissa. Really, I said, suppressing my hatred for orphanages everywhere. As for that option, speaking from experience, that's the worst thing anyone could go through. I said. Then what's your plan then? Recovery Girl asked. Before I could answer, I pulled out my phone. Our apartment was totaled during the attack. We'll take her in, I said, which to confused and shocked looks from Recovery Girl, Eri, and Melissa. I'm sorry, what? Melissa asked. Our apartment's totaled, by the way, I said, showing her the news on the phone. Never mind the apartment. What do you mean we'll take Eri in? Melissa asked. Sigh. Would you excuse us for just one moment? I said as I took Melissa outside. Why? Melissa asked. Actually no, I know exactly why you want to take her in. Great, so can we? I asked. Look, Izuku, I know you mean well, considering you were a you-know-what in the past. But we don't even know this girl. And above all else, we don't even know if the guys who worked for Overhaul would try and take her back. Melissa said. So we'll beat the stuffing out of them when they come. And she's scarred physically, so who knows how unstable she is mentally. I said before taking her hands into mine. She needs somewhere where she could be loved, nurtured, and above all else, protected. I said, besides, did you see the sad face she had on? Would you really say no to that sad face? I asked. She looked conflicted, then caved. Fine, but you're getting us a new apartment, she said before I lifted her up into a hug. Thank you, thank you, thank you, I exclaimed as I burst with euphoria. I spun her with my jovial happiness and excitement. She laughed at my actions. Okay, Akahehe, calm down, she said as I set her down. Once Melissa straightened herself out, we re-entered Recovery Girl's office. We made out decision. You're coming home with us, Eri. I cut her off before Melissa shot me a glare as sorry. I muttered, rubbing the back of my head. I am, she asked with wide eyes. Yeah, we won't let any of the bad men hurt you, I said. And no needles and see cuts, she asked as tears welled up in her eyes. No needles and no cuts, we won't let any of them hurt you again, I said before squatting down to her eye level. You will finally live a normal life, full of fun and stuff, I said. So what do you say? I asked. She didn't respond, but is making a weird face, as sorry. I forget. How do you smile? She asked as I felt a shot through my heart. Why, you'll learn in time, I said, patting her head softly, before checking my watch. Well, thankfully the restaurant was far away from the battle. We could take you out to eat, Eri, I said. Oh, okay, she said. We exited the office and began heading towards the motorcycle. The name was in the works. I hope you know what you are doing, Melissa said as she got on the motorcycle. I do. Oh, and I found us an apartment. There was suddenly a vacancy open. I said, really, where? Melissa asked as she turned on the engine of the motorcycle. Literally down the block, I said as I pointed to the general direction of the apartment. We drove a little ways away to the now vacant apartment. Once there, we parked in front of it and headed inside. Good afternoon. The person manning the front desk said, are you here about the vacancy? She asked. Yeah, I answered. Our old apartment got obliterated thanks to the giant villain attack a few minutes ago. We saw this place had a vacancy, and we came as soon as we could. I explained. I see. Well, care to take a tour of the apartment? She asked. We'd be glad to. I said. The apartment was pretty much the same as the last one, just a different color of paint and hardwood instead of carpet. We'll take it, I said instantly. Oh, really? She asked. Oh, okay. Our rent's due the first of the month, she said as she handed me the keys before leaving. Melissa sighed and pinched the bridge of her nose. What's wrong? I asked. Oh, nothing, she muttered before setting the duffel bags aside. I'm going to park the motorcycle inside. You unpack the stuff, she said. Aye, aye, Captain, I said before packing away the stuff into the respective closets. She didn't bring much, aside from the UA uniforms and whatever she could grab in a moment's notice before the apartment got demolished. So my job of unpacking was pretty easy. With the extra time I had, I called the restaurant and told them that we require a table for 3. Thankfully, the change wasn't too astronomical and our scheduled time remained the same. All right, Melissa said, tossing the keys onto the countertop. We need to go shopping tomorrow. Literally everything else was destroyed. Gotcha, I said as I glanced at my watch. We have 30 minutes until we're supposed to go out and eat our celebration dinner. We have 30 minutes. Think that's enough time to buy Yuri and us some formal clothes? I asked. Yeah, I think we can manage, she said. After a successful shopping trip of finding some halfway decent clothes and a nice white dress for Yuri, along with some boots, we were ready for our long-delayed celebration dinner. Yes, table for 3, under winners, I asked, which got a snort out of Melissa. Let's see. Ah, yes, here we are. Follow me, she said as she led us to our table. Your server will be here soon, she said with a bow before leaving. Did you really name the reservation under winners? Melissa asked, trying to hold back laughter. Did you expect anything less? I asked. She let out a giggle. Touche, she said before looking around, taking in the atmosphere and decor. Nice place. I heard this place has jam-packed for months. How did you get a reservation? Melissa asked. You need a what? All Might asked. She deserves it after working her butt off to become not only the first quirkless UA student to win the sports festival, but also be one of the few support course students to make it to the 3rd round. I want to surprise her. So please, I asked. What makes you think I could even get you a reservation? All Might asked. Are you serious? I asked. You're the symbol of peace, the All Might, for Pete's sake. Besides, I think I recall a certain someone telling a poor, emotionally unstable preteen that they couldn't become a hero because they were quirkless, I said, being overdramatic. You aren't going to let that go, aren't you? All Might asked, pinching the bridge of his nose. Not unless you give me a reservation for 2. Then I'll forget that ever happened, I said. Fine, he said. And whatever happened to water under the bridge at this point? All Might countered. Look, sometimes the river gets jammed, I responded, through sheer determination. You asked Uncle Might for a reservation, did you? Melissa asked. I will. Shush, it was hard to convince that man, I said as she responded with laughter. Our waiter returned with our menus. Good evening, sir and madams. Would you like to start off the evening with a beverage? Our pompous waiter asked. Before I could make a joke, Melissa answered for us. We'll have an iced water, and for the young lady, what's your favorite fruit? Apples, she answered flatly. Apple juice it is, Melissa answered. Very well, he said with a bow as he returned into the kitchen. Anything caught your eye yet? I asked. Sukiyaki sounds good. What about you? Melissa asked. I remember hearing someone from class 1 going on and on about soba, so I'll see if he's onto something, I said. What about you, Eri? I asked. I want katsudon, she said. I held back tears. I like her already, I joked as Melissa laughed. I could see our grocery bill for pork skyrocketing with her now, she quipped back. We shared a laugh as the waiter returned with our drinks. And to take our orders, once he left, however, was the most dreadful thing that plagued restaurants everywhere. The wait. Eri looked bored out of her mind. Then I remembered something I picked up from the Shiver Opranage. I pulled out a yo-yo that I may or may not have stole from the store. Don't tell Melissa. Anyway, I showed Eri some simple tricks that I picked up from the show-offs at the orphanage, and she looked ecstatic, like she was witnessing magic in front of her eyes. Do it again, she exclaimed, as Melissa and I smiled at her child wonder. All right, I said as I performed the elevator trick, where I sent the yo-yo down the string and with my index finger managed to loop the yo-yo back onto the string and pulled my hands apart making it look like it was climbing the string. And with a swift flick, the yo-yo rolled back onto the string. After getting applause and some noise complaints from the other patrons, our food finally arrived. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't months backed up level. Is it just me, or is the food underwhelming? I asked Melissa. She took another bite. Yeah. Why is that? She asked. I don't know, I said before figuring out a way to have some fun. Maybe it's because we commoners don't have the refined palate for such exquisite foods, I said in a horrible posh accent. Melissa laughed and caught on to the joke. Yes, quite. How awfully careless of us, she said imitating my accent. Yes, indeed. We spent the rest of the evening eating and making fun of arrogant rich people. It lasted for all of 3 seconds, until someone stood up from their seats to walk over to us. Excuse me, but I do believe you are talking too loud, the lady said. What was that? I yelled. Could you speak up? Okay, Izuku, I think that's enough, Melissa said as the lady glared at me. How dare you? Mother, wait, I know her. Oh, I know you, I said. You're that one girl that was on Todoroki's team during the cavalry battle. I said. Oh, you recognize me? The girl asked as she stepped past her mother. My name is Momoye Urazu. Pleasure to meet you. I'm Izuku Midoriya. This is Melissa Shield and Eri. I said. Good evening. Melissa greeted. Hi. Eri greeted too. Wait, Shield? The woman asked. What are you doing here? Melissa asked, ignoring the woman. Oh, just having a night out with my parents. My mother was listening to you two talk, and she decided to say something. Urazu said. Oh, sorry. We were just satirizing arrogant rich people. When your mother walked over to us and ordered us to quiet down, I mistook her for an arrogant rich lady, so I started talking louder. Izuku, you're muttering again, Melissa said. Huh. Oh, sorry, I said, habitually rubbing the back of my head sheepishly. Haha, it's quite all right. Anyway, you two did phenomenal during the sports festival, she said. Oh, right. Sorry about, beating your class so you couldn't show off your skills to the pros. I apologized as she waved it off. I don't see why the winners need to apologize. We underestimated you too, and that's why we as a class lost, she said. Well, that's true, I said. Izuku, Melissa said, but that doesn't mean you didn't kick major butt. You made it to the final event for a reason. You carried that purple boy, almost snagged my 10 million point headband, and you made it to the second round of the final event. Still, your class still has some problems, I added. Explain, Urazu said. I was about to answer, until I realized that we were disrupting the patrons, way more than I intended to. I'll explain in school. We're making a scene, a bigger scene than I intended, I muttered. Oh, quite right, Urazu said as she gripped her mother's wrist. Come, mother, let's let these two enjoy their meal. Urazu dragged her mother away, causing me to collapse into my chair. Well, I totally screwed this up, I said. I don't know, I had fun, Melissa said. You did? I asked in disbelief. Yeah, I drove the motorcycle away from a sand villain. We ate subpar food, and we made fun of rich people. Pretty much everything I wanted out of a celebration. All that's missing. Would you three care for some dessert? The waiter offered. Is dessert? Melissa said with a happy glint in her eyes. Yes, we would care for some dessert, I said. What would you like? Do you happen to have apple pie? Melissa asked, which to the attention of Eri. Why, yes, we do, the waiter said, as Eri's eyes were now beaming with excitement. Then we shall have that, Melissa said. Excellent choice, the waiter said before heading back into the kitchen. After a few more minutes, our plates of apple pie were placed in front of us. I could now see why this place has so much backlog. This pie is delicious, Eri exclaimed with the biggest smile on her face. She smiled. I promised myself I wouldn't cry. Are you crying? Melissa asked. What? Of course not. I just got something in both my eyes, I responded. She snorted. What did you catch? She asked in a teasing manner. Tears, I exclaimed. Eri looked up from her now pie-devoid plate in confusion. Why is Zuko crying? Eri asked. He's just really happy, Melissa said with a smile. I'm happy too. Should I be crying? Eri asked. No, Izuku here is a special case, she teased. Hey, I said, but I was too busy crying tears of joy to yell. After my tears went away, we asked for the check. I reached for my pocket, but I saw Melissa hand the waiter her credit card. I looked up at her, only for her to innocently whistle. You're the worst, I muttered, only for her to respond with laughter. You could pay for the next dinner, she offered. Fine, I said with a joking huff. After Melissa paid for dinner, we headed back to our new apartment. So, Eri, how did you like it? Melissa asked. It was amazing, she said with a smile. Even though it's clearly the apple pie that won her over. Well, it doesn't matter. We saved Eri, had victory dinner, and most importantly, helped her smile again. All in a day's work. Midoriya's POV. Back to school, and it's time for field trainings. A list flashed on screen of those in the general course got offers. And it was sad. I'm literally the only one who got offers. I don't blame them. I was the only one who made it past the first event. Congrats to Midoriya for his offers, Mr. Snipe said, trying to not rub salt on the other's wounds, and failing horribly at it. He handed me a stack of papers, telling me they are my offers. Once that was over with, midnight came in to have us pick hero names. I shout a quick text to Melissa for help. I need a fake hero name. Me, how about something cool, like Night Shot? Haha, very funny, now help me. Me, something basic, like Turbo. Good enough for me. Also, how is Eri? Me, she's talking to Power Loader, and he looks really nervous around her. At least she hasn't blown up yet. Me, what's that supposed to mean? I heard horror stories about that place, specifically about Hatsune. Me, well, Power Loader forced her to take a break due to her running on 1 hour sleep, and haven't bathed in a week. Okay, that's too much info than I ever wanted. I closed out before I heard anything else I didn't want to hear ... ever. I wrote down the basic name, and stood up in front of the class to present it. They told me it was basic, but it worked. Anyway, soon classes were let out for lunch, and I headed over to meet Eri and Melissa, only for me to get flagged down by 3 students once I found them. Izuku Midoriya, right? The tall blonde one asked. Yes, who wants to know? I asked as he started laughing. I felt something tug at my pants. Mirio, you're scaring the little girl. The black-haired one, who looked like he would rather be anywhere else, said. Oh, my apologies. The blonde one, Mirio said. It's okay, Eri. He's nice, I said as she slowly came out from behind my leg. So what did you need? I asked. Sir Night-Eye wants to speak with you in Principal Nezu's office. Mirio said. I'm sorry, what? I asked. Sir Night-Eye was leading a case about a man named Kaichisaki. He said. The moment that name was said, Eri flinched and hid behind my leg again. Mirio apologized before continuing. Anyway, he's been arrested a few days ago, and witnesses saw a boy about your height carrying a girl that looked like her in the air with rocket bow. I see your point. Can she come? I asked. Yes, sir would like to see all 3 of you, Mirio said. We nodded and headed to Principal Nezu's office, where a lanky man sat on a chair next to Nezu. Welcome, Izuku Midoriya, Melissa Shield, and young Eri. Nezu greeted as we took a seat in front of the 2. I've been told you have questions for us, I said. Indeed, mainly about the incident, Night-Eye said before looking at me closely. Where were you a few minutes before the incident? He asked. At a cat cafe. We saw Eri running, and I rushed to help her. One thing led to another, and the guy who shall not be named tried to attack us. I explained. I see, Night-Eye said. The questions that came after were simple. What we did after we got Eri, where we were during the attack, etc. Once it was done, we were free to go. Just one more thing. Nezu, do you mind if I speak to Midoriya alone? Night-Eye asked. Not a problem at all. Girl, let us be off to give these 2 their privacy, Nezu said as he led the girls out. Now, there are a few more things I would like to ask you. Melissa's POV. Eri and I sat at an empty table as we ate our lunch. I was completely nervous. I didn't know what they were talking about, but I'm hoping that it isn't anything about Night Shot. Did Izuku remove his mask at all? No, I have my camera system. Anywhere he went I could see, the roofs, the back alleys, heck even on the road, I always kept my eye on him. And he never took off his mask during a patrol before. I'm probably worrying all for nothing. In fact, there he is. Hey, I said as Izuku sat across from us. How did it go? I whispered. Oh, just some questions about he who shall not be named, Izuku said, before pulling out a stack of papers. What we should be focusing on is my field training, I said as my eyes shot up with realization. We'll talk at home, I said as he nodded. Soon classes ended, and we headed home to discuss strategy, as well as research the hero killer. He's attacked Ingenium, I said as Izuku looked at me with shock and concern. That's Ada's brother, Tensei Ada, he said as I nodded. His last attack was in Hasu, and our cameras has found him, standing on a water tower overlooking the city. I explained as I pulled up the feed. Fast forward, see if he goes anywhere during that time, Izuku said. Got it, I said as I fast forwarded the feed. Wait, he left, I said as I fast forwarded even more, only to see him holding a cheap cup of noodles. At least we know he's human enough to eat, Izuku joked. See if he does anything else aside eat, Izuku said. On it, I said. We continued searching feeds, he set his food aside, and was still brooding on his tower. Well, at least we know he's not done there for now, Izuku pointed out. Is there any more news on him? I asked. No, Izuku answered. That's weird. No anything on him, at least after the incident with Ingenium. He's still alive, right? Izuku asked. Yes, he's just paralyzed from the waist down. Poor Tenya, I said. Couldn't help but feel bad for him. right after the sports festival too. We'll take him down. Izuku said. Yeah, we have to, I said. We continued into the day, and well into the night searching camera feeds for Stain. Past articles about him shows us that he moves all over Japan. The last article, before the Ingenium incident, was from Kamino Ward, which was a few days before his latest attack. So from what I've gathered, he doesn't look like he's left. I said. I have 2 different guesses why. Izuku said. 1. He's stalking his next victim. Or 2. He's waiting for something, probably an attack by the League. Then that means your training should be in Hasu. I said. Yes, Izuku said before placing his stack of offers on the table. So that leaves us with who of these offers are in Hasu. Let's start cracking, I said. We skimmed through the offers. The ones that stuck out are in Hasu. Our Endeavor's agency, Manuel's agency, Mount Lady's agency, Death Arm's agency, heck even Kamui Wood's agency. There are many more, but those are the big names I recognize. I just had a bad thought, Izuku said as I turned to give him my full attention. You think Ada is going to go after Stain? My heart wants to say no, but I'm almost certain he will try to look for Stain. I answered. So, we should try to see which agency he's going to, and then we don't pick that. Izuku explained. That way, we can rush out to save him and not get ourselves caught when we do patrols. Good idea. We'll ask him tomorrow, I said as I closed my laptop. For now, let's go to bed. It's 1 a.m. right now, I said while stifling a yawn. Agreed. We'll continue tomorrow after we get that information, Izuku said. We nodded and went to bed to get some kind of sleep for tomorrow. The next day, we flagged down Ida at lunch. He told us that he was interning with Manuel and wanted to know why. Oh, Izuku got an offer from him too. We just wanted a second opinion before he makes his decision. I lied, but he seemed to have bought it. Indeed, well, he's an exceptional hero. And I wish to learn some tricks and tips before stepping out into the field myself, Ida explained. I see, Izuku said, playing along with our charade. Thanks for the heads up, he said before we walked to lunch together. So, we're not picking Manuel, I said as I ate my food. But why? That man said he's good, Yuri asked as she ate her apple slices. Because it's important that we don't go with him for training, Izuku explained. Why? Yuri asked. Because he needs to work on his skills alone. I can't just give him the answers, Izuku said, giving her a smile. He needs to figure things out on his own. I see, Yuri said, sounding satisfied with that answer. So, who do you want to intern with? I asked. Death Arms, Izuku said. You sure? I asked. Yes, I think I could use some more training with hand-to-hand combat. Well, he said before looking around, while I have the batons, there will be times where I will be disarmed. I should be able to fight without them. He whispered. I see. Then he will be a good choice, I said, voicing my opinion on the choice. But don't forget the mission, time to show the world that Night Shot is legitimate, she said, extending my fist to him, which he responded by tapping it with his. Then a smaller fist joined the two. Go team, Izuku and I said. Go team, Yuri said right after. A few days passed, and the time for field training is now, also known as taking down Stain time. Izuku and I met at the train station. So, will you be fine with you and Yuri all by yourself? Izuku teased as I smacked him on the shoulder. I'll be fine. You need your eyes in the sky after all, I said before giving him a hug. Don't die, okay? I made you some new gear for your legs. Pack that and everything, including your helmet in a capsule. I whispered. Thanks, and like heck I will, he said before boarding the train. He waved at the window before his train left. Where is he going? Yuri asked. He's going to train. He'll be back in a week or so, I said before we headed over to the motorcycle. Now, let's go home. Midoriya's POV. I made it to Hasu, more specifically Death Arm's office. I knocked on the door before stepping inside. Oh, you're here. Glad to see you took my offer, Death Arms said as a. Oh great. No, I have to be professional. At least professional enough so I could sneak out at night to take down Stain. I'm honored for the offer, sir, I said with a bow. Enough of the honorifics. Now have a seat, Death Arms said, gesturing to the seat next to the earphone jack girl, to which I took. So Turbo, SNRK Turbo, she asked. It's a temporary name, so Midnight would get off my case about it, I commented. Anyway, I heard you got second place in the sports festival, beating out many students with powerful quirks, even the one who was the favorite to win it all, Bakugo, he explained. Indeed I did, though I would have liked to have done that with all of my clothes on. But what are you going to do about that? I quipped, which got a laugh out of him. I hear you. That would have been problematic had the acid seeped further, he quipped back. It would have landed me in juvenile hall for indecent exposure, I responded. Still, it was pretty difficult, but I'm glad Melissa and I got the top two. Melissa, Death Arms asked. Oh, she's my partner in crime. Well, partner in heroics is more like it, I said. Had she not made me these boots or these, I said as I activated my arm braces, I would have been toast. I see. Though I only seen you pull those out in the final match, Death Arms said. Well, I used them twice actually, One you already know, the final match, but the first time I used them was when Ida slammed me onto the ground with his reciprocal burst. I activated them last second, which gave me the perfect opportunity to feint not only Ida, but Midnight as well. I explained. Melissa was dishing out punishment as well. In fact, she came in fourth during the obstacle course. Did she? Both Death Arms and the girl asked. Yeah, she could have come in first, but Boom Boom Explodey Pants and Ice Ice Baby would have attacked her, I said as the girl laughed at my nicknames. I'm totally using those when I see them next. She said, oh, that reminds me I never got your name. I said, right, the name is Kyuka Gyro, and you're Izuku Midoriya. She said, yup, that's my name, don't wear it out. I said, well, Earphone Jack, Turbo, let us begin the field training. Death Arms said as he headed out onto the field. Put on your costumes, we're going out on patrol. Yes, sir, we both said. Thankfully, I brought my fake costume with me. Before Melissa and I headed to the station, she gave me a little earpiece so she could talk to me and for me to speak to her, a walkie-talkie. Old school but effective. With our costumes on, we headed out with Death Arms and his sidekick out on a patrol. There wasn't much to it, which was fine by me. Once we made it back, which was pretty late, it was close to dusk, Death Arms brought us back to talk. So what would you like to get out of this training? Death Arms asked. I would like more experience out on the field, sir. Jiru said. I see. I assume you're the same way. Death Arms asked. To an extent, experience is good, but I would like to work on my hand-to-hand combat. I said, shouldn't you have gone to Gunhead in that case? Death Arms asked. I would have, but I didn't get an offer from him. I lied. He was on the top of the list, but he's located in Musutafu, not Hasu, so he was out at the get-go. I excel at aerial combat, as well as mobility, as you may have seen, but my rocket boots only last for 7 minutes until I need to refuel. It's not like an enemy will just sit idly by and let me refuel. They would come attack me at my open state. I have methods to deal with range fighters as well as mid-range. Close range is my weakest at this point in time. I explained. So you want to be an all-around fighter? Death Arms asked as I nodded. I see. Well, that shouldn't be a problem. I could train both of you, he said before turning to Jiru. I'm sure you'll benefit from this kind of training as well. Yes, sir, Jiru said. Excellent. Good job today. You may take the rest of the day to rest, Death Arms said before heading to his office. These trainings are supposed to last a week, meaning we could stay here overnight as well, hence my carry-on suitcase full of stuff I need for a week-long trip. As I extended out my futon, Jiru walked up to me. All right, Spill, why are you really here? Jiru asked. Hand to ha, I said before she cut me off. I could tell a lie with my quirk. Now Spill, Jiru said. Fine, I needed to be in Hasu. That's all I'm saying, I said. She took the hint and nodded. Did you hear about Ada's brother? She asked. It's all over the news. I said, I feel for him. I said simply. You seem awfully nonchalant about this, she said before sending me a glare. A student's brother got paralyzed, dude. That's all you have to say. She asked. At least he's alive, I said before laying on my back on the futon. He has someone to come back to, while his brother is paralyzed from the waist down and unable to be ingenium again, and I truly feel sorry for him, but he has someone to call family. I said. She put 2 and 2 together. You don't mean? Exactly that. I have no one. No parents, no siblings, no one. I said, I can't believe I'm going to tell you all of this, but I have gone through what I like to call the worst things any child could go through. It's almost comedic in a way, I said as she stared at me wide-eyed. Let's start with terrible event number 1. My father left. I assume it was when my mother was carrying me, considering he wasn't ever there for as long as I could remember. Event number 2. My mother died when she had me. I came out fine, but my mom didn't have such luck. Event number 3. I was put under foster care for all of my life really, and it was complete and utter hell. But alas, the coup de grace. Event number 4 was when I found out I was quirkless when I was taken to the doctor when I was 4. I explained. So if we count all of those, I would be a bastard, a cursed child, an orphan, and quirkless to boot. I explained as she stared at me like she's seen a ghost. You wonder why I beat the stuffing out of Bakugo during our match. It was because he said the 3 bad words. Call me a bastard orphan or a cursed child and I lose it. I would be sent into an unbridled rage. I learned to control it a bit, but nothing gets under my skin than those words. I added, so the reason I'm so nonchalant about Ida's brother is because while what happened to him and what Ida's going through is horrible, and I would never wish that on anyone, he's lucky his brother is still alive, while I have Melissa and Eri. They're pretty much the only thing keeping me from destroying the world right now, I said before I stood back up from my futon. I'm going to see if Death Arms has any alcohol lying around. Or at least orange juice. Wait, Jiru said as I stopped dead in my tracks. I am sorry for getting in your face during the sports festival in here. She apologized. Don't, I said as he looked at me with a confused expression. Apologies don't mean much if you aren't a direct cause for anything bad. You couldn't have possibly known any of the stuff I told you up till now, so you don't have any fault in it, I said before turning back around. Unless you're going to tell me that you were a direct cause of the 4 worst moments of my life. You don't have to say sorry. She raised an eyebrow, before nodding. Now, where's that orange juice? I asked as I headed into the kitchen. Once I was certain I was out of earshot of Jiru, I stepped outside. It was nice and warm. You called? I asked into the walkie-talkie. Took you long enough, Melissa said through the earpiece. This is important. A purple portal appeared behind Stain. A pale, wrinkly dude with hands all over his body, and a mist guy appeared out of it. They had a talk, and Stain walked through it. She explained. So the League want to recruit him? I asked. Probably. Their images fit the descriptions that the students of Class 1 said. News travels fast, which makes our lives a bit easier, Melissa said. Still, this could be bad. Keep me updated if something happens. I said. Roger, she said before signing off. I sighed and took a sip of orange juice. If Stain is joining the League of Villains, then this is going to get 10 times harder with their resources. Who knows what he could do? We need to take him down. Fast. The next few days was patrols and hand-to-hand combat drills. Thankfully, patrols are in the day and hand-to-hand combat drills were at dusk till night. All that remained was waiting for the sick. I found him, Melissa said. Got it, I said through the walkie-talkie. I went back inside and dug through my suitcase for There it is, the capsule containing my equipment. Note to self, thank Melissa for making these. I went outside again, this time far away to activate my capsule, and everything was here. My batons, my vest, clothes, grenade belt, and even the new leg armor for my legs. I quickly put them on over my current clothes and flew off. Melissa, where is he? I asked through the microphone. 1410 Echo Street, an alleyway. He's attacking now. Oh no, Melissa said. What's wrong? I asked. It's Ada, he's with the hero killer. She said. Shoot, I yelled as I flew towards 5th and Main. Come on, please still be alive. Say whatever you want to about me, you're still just a criminal who hurt my brother. A voice yelled. Ada. I landed on the rooftop above them, grabbed my batons, and jumped down. Stain heard me and jumped out of the way. What? Ada and Stain asked. I don't think so. I said to the hero killer, I thought you killed heroes, not little kids who are trying to become heroes. I said. TCH. Don't try to salvage him. Night shot, Stain said. So you know me after all. I don't know if I should be flattered or scared. I said. You take down villains at their most prominent, at night. Even so, when the problem arises you would go out in broad daylight to take down a villain. He commented. Not the best idea in my opinion. I almost became an Endeavor kebab. I said before gripping my batons. Regardless, he's coming with me. I wouldn't want you to rob a kid of his life. I said. He's as far away from being a hero as anyone could get. He's here for some petty mission to kill me for paralyzing his brother. The name hero has been dragged through the mud. The more heroes that come, and the more the government pays them. He explained. They must be purged to grow a better society. He's a kid. While I won't say he's in the right about doing this, and what he should have done is brought back up his trainer or something, I won't let you kill him over something like his emotions clouding his judgment. I said. Oh, and what about him? Stain asked, pointing behind me. I turned to see. Native. I didn't even see him. I said, now diverting my attention to Stain. Fine. New mission is to beat you and save both the kid and Native. I said as I connected my batons and got ready to fight. So you want to fight for them, even though you don't know them? Why? Stain asked. Because heroes meddle where they aren't supposed to. I see your point of view, Stain. I don't agree in the slightest, but I see it. I however see things in a different light. I said, mistakes don't make the man makes mistakes. I believe they could learn from their stupid, life-threatening mistakes. Let's see Stain. I gripped my pole. Let's see who's stronger in their beliefs. I said as I ran towards him. Let's go, Night Shot. Stain yelled as he gripped his sword. When our weapons collided, a loud clang echoed throughout the alleyway. I saw his other hand reach back for a knife. I knocked him back and jumped out of the way of his knife slash. You are skilled, as to be expected, Stain said as he kept putting pressure on me. He's not like those petty thugs, like I expected, but he's so fast. With a block, I kicked him away and disconnected my pole to dual-wield the batons. A new form. Interesting. With a form I'm more comfortable with, I could keep up with Stain's attacks easier, but he must have noticed that, because he started changing it up, kicking off the walls and throwing knives to stay at a range. Melissa, come in, I asked in a whisper. No response. I dodged another knife. Melissa, do you copy? Og, I yelled as Stain took advantage my call and slammed me onto the ground. You got distracted. Big mistake, Stain said as he pulled out his sword. I'm impressed. He jabbed his sword into my shoulder, drawing a drop of blood. I'll spare you. He licked the sword, causing me to be paralyzed. Is it his quirk? Now, where were we? No, I yelled as I tried with every fiber of my being to move, but couldn't. He pulled out his sword again, as he loomed over Ada. Goodbye. May your death bring upon a better society. he muttered. Why, I said. Vroom, a motorcycle appeared in the alley as the hero killer was hit by a pole and sent flying back through the alleyway. Huh? I asked as I saw a masked figure on a motorcycle. Sorry for the wait, a voice said in my mask. And Melissa? I asked. I thought you'd need some backup. The minute I saw Native and Ida on the ground unable to move, I feared the worst and drove here. Can you move? Melissa asked. And no, it's his quirk. If he licks a drop of your blood, then you become paralyzed and unable to move. I explained as I saw Stain get up from the knocked over trash cans. Does it have a time limit? She asked. I don't know, but it has to wear off at some point. I said. You? Stain asked, pointing a sword at Melissa. Who are you? He asked. My name is Oracle, and I am the partner to Night Shot. Me, Oracle said. Oracle, never heard of you. Stain said. I'm more the technical side of this collaboration. That doesn't mean I can't fight. Oracle said as she gripped her pole. I'll stall him as long as I can. The minute you can move, join the fight. Oracle whispered to me. Gee, got it. I responded. Stain charged towards Oracle with his sword in hand. She blocked his sword and was in a blocking match. Stain realized what she was doing. He realized that Oracle was stalling so I could get back in the fight, and went on the offensive, constantly hitting her pole to make some movement towards Ida and Native. He was overpowering her. As she made some steps back to readjust her footing, Stain moved past her odd rush towards Ida and Native to kill them fast and then flee the battle. No, you don't, Oracle yelled as she threw a device at Stain. The device expanded to show that it was actually bolas aimed to ensnare Stain. He noticed and slashed at the cords connecting the bolas together, which gave Oracle the opening to attack back. They were literally looming over Ida and Stain. Come on, move. I suddenly regained all movement in my body. I got up and activated the electric part of my batons. No holds barred now. I jumped towards Stain. He must have heard the zaps from my baton, because he moved back from Oracle and dodged out of the way of my attack. You're back. But what about them? Oracle asked. They're still paralyzed. But I was paralyzed last and freed first. I have 3 guesses why. I said as Oracle turned towards me. The more people paralyzed could lessen the time limit. The amount of blood could be a factor, or it could be a person's blood type. I said. If it's the last one. My blood type is B, Native said. I am type A, Ida muttered. So you figured it out. Bravo. Well done, Stain said. I'm type O. So that's the shortest time limit, at least as far as we know. I said. I'm type A as well. Melissa said. Well, knowing how it works won't get us much. As far as we know, it's just us for now. I said as I gripped my batons. Let's take him down. Quirkless, Melissa said. We get the job done. I finished. Stain charged towards us, a sword in one hand, his knife in another. His knife collided with Oracle's pole, while his sword collided with my batons. Oracle, we need a concussion. I said. Got it, she said as she grabbed a concussion grenade from my belt. While he was distracted, I pulled off one of my batons and swung at his face. He dodged and jumped back. She pulled the pin and threw the grenade. Stain caught it and tossed it to the back of the alleyway, far enough so that he was far from the blast radius. Why are you so hell-bent on protecting them? Protecting those fake heroes? Stain yelled as he rushed back, focusing solely on me now. They are the exact opposite of what heroes should be. He yelled as I knocked his sword back and nailed him in the face with my batons. He's getting hysterical and frantic. He's getting sloppy, because anyone could become a hero, regardless of mistakes. I said. Damn it, he yelled as he grabbed his sword out of the air to attack. Why are you standing in my way? I yelled as I swung my batons at the sword as hard as I could. The sword shattered into many shards, but Stain grabbed a shard and rushed towards me. He yelled as he jabbed at me. I ducked and hit him in the torso with my batons. Gawk. He yelled as he was sent up into the air. As he was falling, I hit him in the face with the full force of my batons, sending shocks through his body. Once he landed, he wasn't moving. He hasn't moved for a few seconds. Night Shot. I think we beat him, Melissa said. I think we did, I said as handed her the rope she gave me. Tie him up, strip him of his weapons, and call the police and whatever news station is nearby. I'll tend to Ida and Native's wounds, I said as she nodded. I walked over to Ida and Native. Ida must have recovered from his paralysis, because he sat up and rubbed his wounded shoulder. Here, I said as I pulled out some bandages. Hold still for a second. I cleaned his wound and bandaged him up. Next was Native. Sorry for jumping in. I apologized. For once, I'm glad you did, Native muttered as I cleaned his wound and bandaged him. Had you not, that kid would have been killed at such a young age too. Tell me about it, I said as I finished bandaging him. Can you walk? I asked. Yes, he said as he stood up. What about you, kid? I asked Ida. He stood up as Oracle dragged the tied-up Stain towards us. Tied him, you. Night Shot. Oracle, I apologize for my mistakes, Ida said, bowing. Had I called Manuel, we could have handled this ourselves. I was blinded by hatred, anger that I couldn't see clearly. Yeah, pretty much, I said. Night Shot. Oracle said. Had he done all of that? Then I wouldn't have needed to fly in, and you wouldn't have had to fly in here to join the fray. Even though the entrance was awesome. Anyway, emotions are emotions. They get riled up and they make you act without rationality. However, one must learn to control their emotions if they want to be a hero. I explained. Like you, Oracle teased. I'm working on it. Anyway, next time a psycho hero killer shows up and you see him, feel free to call anyone else. There won't be a need to call us because we'll probably be there anyway, I said as I heard sirens get closer. Anyway, you should turn this guy in, as well as get you two to the hospital. I may have cleaned your stab wounds, but I did a terrible job at bandaging them, I said as Oracle got on the motorcycle and I activated my rocket boots. See you all later, I yelled as I flew up to the room and Oracle rode off to the other end of the alleyway. We were supposed to head back to base so we wouldn't be caught. But I want to watch this. The police apprehended the hero killer as the news people filmed Native and Ada as well as gave them an interview. I could faintly hear what they are saying. So, how did you find the hero killer, let alone apprehend him? The interviewer asked. Stain came after me. He paralyzed me with his quirk. What's this? The police officer asked as he pulled out a post-it note. The interviewer and cameraman looked over at the note. Quirkless. We get the job done, Night Shot and Oracle. She read aloud. Melissa, you sly genius. Well, looks like our job is due. Excuse me, are you Night Shot? A deep voice asked. I jumped up, pulled out my batons, and looked who was behind me. It was the Mist guy. As the man with the hands who I know from the news, Shigaraki. And he has Melissa by the throat. Midoriya's POV. Who are you? What do you want? I asked. We are the League of Villains, and WWE have a proposition for you, Mr. Night Shot. The Mist villain said. Allow me to introduce us. My name is Kurajiri, and he is Shigaraki. Kurajiri introduced. See, we have your friend here, Shigaraki said, gesturing to Melissa. They removed her helmet, so if you don't come with us, he said as he pulled out a small All Might doll from his pocket and placed his entire hand on the doll, causing it to disintegrate into dust. That will happen to her, he said as a portal opened up behind him. Now, if you would be so kind, we have much to discuss, Kurajiri said. My hands were shaking. I have to comply? Fine, I muttered as I holstered my weapons and entered the portal. It brought us to a bar. If it wasn't ran by villains, this would be a nice place. So what is this plan? I asked. First, hats off indoors, Shigaraki said. Fine, I said as I pulled off my helmet. Not like I could decline with his hand around Melissa's neck. So what's the plan? I asked. Well, Izuku Midoriya and Melissa Shield, Kurajiri said. We need a new recruit. A permanent one, Kurajiri said. At least you clarified that we aren't working forever, I commented. Indeed, you have the heart of a hero, Shigaraki muttered. Our target doesn't. We want him. Our target is Katsuki Bakugo, Kurajiri said. We need him captured and brought here. Okay, what's the plan? I asked. That's where you come in, Kurajiri responded. UA, specifically the hero course, is going to their annual summer camp. Due to your attack at USJ, I assume it'll be at some far-off location, far and private, I added. Indeed, that's why we need you to infiltrate the camp and capture Bakugo, Kurajiri explained. Okay, will I have backup? Because I may have beat Bakugo and some of the best in Class 1A, but 20 versus 1 will be suicide, let alone the staff members that will be there to watch the students. I said, we will get recruits for the mission. We shall notify you with updates, Kurajiri said. Fine, now could you do me a solid and open up a portal to our apartment? I asked. Whatever for? Shigaraki asked, tightening his grip around Melissa's neck. If you plan on run. Melissa needs her tools for some things I need for this to go smoothly, as well as her microphone that is used for us to communicate. I assume you don't plan on sending a massive army like in USJ, but I need some things. I said. I'll allow it, Kurajiri said as he made a portal directly in my apartment. Shigaraki, Melissa, and I went through the portal. What do you need? Melissa asked. Is it possible to make a tiny tracking device? I asked. Yes, Melissa said. What do you need a tracking device for? Shigaraki asked. Think, you need Bakugo. It will be easier to know where he is at all times, I explained as Melissa got her stuff to make a mini tracking device, as well as her microphone. I'll think of some new upgrades when they come to mind. For now, let's leave before Eri wakes up, I whispered. We walked back through the portal as it closed behind us. So is that it for this meeting? I asked. Yes, Kurajiri responded. All right, then drop me off at Death Arms Agency. He doesn't know I'm here, so I don't want to look suspicious, I explained. Indeed, give me a moment, Kurajiri said as a portal opened. I took off my equipment and left it there. I'm now 100% grateful I put it on over my sleeping clothes. Might as well leave it here, I said before I walked through the portal, in the forest that was behind Death Arms' offices. I pulled out my phone. It said it was midnight. I took a deep breath and went inside. And just where were you? Death Arms asked, crossed-armed. Just doing some solo training, The old-fashioned punching trees method. I lied. He gave me a once-over. Before nodding. All right, well don't stay out too late, Death Arms said before heading back into his office. A few days passed since the incident. Talks about Melissa and I, Nightshot and Oracle was circling the area about how we took down the hero killer. The citizens' approval of us skyrocketed. However, the pros didn't like us because we were acting through vigilantism. All I know is that field training is over, and a new challenge presented herself. Izuku, you're back, Eri exclaimed. Melissa is gone. Where is she? Eri asked. She told me that she went to an internship. Sorry, I didn't know you were all alone. I said, it's fine, it was just a little lonely. She said, I'll tell her about Nightshot and Oracle soon. For now, we need to get past this new challenge. It was the next day Eri and I were heading towards Principal Nezu's office. First things first, convince Aizawa and Nezu to let me in the summer camp. Once I stood in front of the door, I looked at Eri. I'll be right back, okay? I asked. Yeah, I'll wait here, she said. I nodded and looked at the door. With a deep breath I entered. Melissa's POV. What is he doing? Shigaraki asked as he looked at the laptop screen. Is he ratting us out? Calm down. He's most likely asking if he could attend the summer camp with Bakugo's class. Kurogiri answered. Well, I don't like not being able to hear what they are saying, he said before looking at me. You, hack the cameras, see if we could hear what they are saying, he ordered. I don't think that's how cameras work, but I'll try, I said. I hacked the cameras and somehow got sound through. So you want to attend Class 1A's summer camp, eh? Nezu asked as Aizawa entered the office. Yes, sir. Any kind of training would benefit my adventure to be a hero, Izuku said. You see, he's just executing the plan like we asked, Kurogiri said. You got lucky, Shield, Shigaraki said as he kept listening. Well, if you would like, we could transfer you to Class 1 instead, Nezu asked. I'll think about that, but I would like to attend the summer camp as a trial run if that's not too much to ask, Izuku said. Not at all. I'm sure the hero course would be glad to have you, Nezu said, as he handed Izuku a paper. Fill out this permission slip and turn it in as soon as possible. I will, thank you, sir, Izuku said before bowing and exiting the room. Afterwards, I backed out of the camera feeds and closed my laptop. Well, time to make that tracking device, I said as I walked over to my workspace. Building a tracking device isn't hard. Building a small one isn't hard either. Building a really tiny one like Izuku specified was really hard. But it's not like I could just not build it. My neck is on the line here. Through careful movements and key precision, I made a prototype tiny tracker. All right, have anything for me to stick this onto? I asked. Kurogiri walked into the back and handed me an apple. I stuck the tracking device onto it. I tried to pull it off, and after a few hard tugs it popped off. I reattached it, and it stuck back on. All right, time to build the receiver, I said. After building that tiny tracker, building the receiver was child's play. After quick work, I made the receiver. Now all that's left is to connect the two. Got it. Let's test it, I said as I held the apple to Kurogiri. Make a portal somewhere far in Japan, I said. Understood, Kurogiri said as he created a portal in some warehouse and placed the apple on the ground. Once the portal closed, I activated the receiver. It works, I said as I held out the receiver to Kurogiri. He gave it a look. That is where I put the portal. It does indeed work, Kurogiri confirmed. Excellent work, he said before opening the portal again and grabbing the apple. No point in losing the tracker, he said. I nodded and grabbed the apple. After some pulling, the tracker came off. We'll give this to Izuku later so he could put it on Bakugo, I said. Indeed, Kurogiri said. At this point, all I could do is help Izuku accomplish this mission. The last thing I want is to die while Izuku was slowly recovering and moving from the mental deep end. And I can't even imagine how Eri is handling this. I could only hope that everything will be okay. Midoriya's POV. I finished the permission slip and sent it in. I brought Eri with me to school so she won't be lonely. At nights when she's asleep, I'd go meet with Kurogiri and Shigaraki for updates. They told me they found some recruits. I asked if I could see them, but they said once I made it to camp they would introduce me. Works one way or the other for me. It's been a few weeks and Eri is missing Melissa a lot. I kept telling her that she is busy, but that could only work for so long. I have to use the walkie-talkie. Okay, I'll call her so you can talk to her, Kay, I asked as she nodded with excitement. I pulled out the walkie-talkie. Kurogiri, can you give Melissa the walkie-talkie? I asked. Whatever for? Kurogiri asked back. Because her little sister misses her and wants to talk to her. So please, I pleaded. There was silence before I heard Melissa's voice. Hello, she asked. Hey Melissa, Eri wants to talk to you, I said before handing the walkie-talkie to Eri. Hi Melissa, Eri greeted. Yeah, I'm good. I just miss you. How is your internship? I hope you build lots of cool stuff. Okay, bye, Eri said before handing me back the walkie-talkie. She says she's working very hard and misses us, but she said she will be back soon, Eri exclaimed. She is. Well, when she gets back we'll have apple pie. A way better apple pie than the one at the restaurant, I said. She gasped with excitement. We will? She asked. Heck yeah. We will make an apple pie so good that the restaurant will pay us to make it, I said. I can't wait, she exclaimed. Can't tell her. At least not yet. Finals have finished and I passed. Like there was any doubt, and summer vacation is here. I visited Nezu's office to see if Eri could come to the camp. Thankfully he said yes, so long I took care of her. Soon we were on the bus and at the cliff overlooking the forest surrounding camp. Aizawa pulled Eri to his side. She flinched but I said it was fine. We could trust him. Anyway, the wild pussycats appeared and told us that camp was far off in the distance. They said lunch was in 12:30. I already see where this is going. Class 1 rushed towards the bus while I rushed towards the cliff. Once I jumped and hovered to the bottom, the rest of the class was launched off by a torrent of dirt. They fell onto the ground one by one. That looks like it hurt, I commented, which got me glares. I walked over to Bakugo to pick him up off the ground by the wrists. He forced his hands away with an explosion. Still, the tracker was now placed on his wrist. And thanks to Melissa, it feels and looks like it isn't even there. Over the cliffside, Mandalay told us we could use whatever we deemed fit. Don't have to tell me twice. Once she finished her explanation, I gave this test a big middle finger and activated my new and improved jet boots. Thanks to these I won't have to waste space for fuel and instead stuffed my backpack full of grenades of different types. Looking at this now, this seems like a horrible idea. Oh well. I flew back up to the cliffside. See you at Camp Eri, I said before waving bye and flying towards the camp. A flying dirt monster flew up to try and stop me. I pulled out one of my sticky explosive grenades and dropped it on its head. It exploded and fell back onto the forest, turning into a pile of dirt. Those guys can deal with it the hard way. I have a meeting to go to. Once I made it to the lodging, before anything else, I placed a tracker on the wall, then I grabbed a stick and drew on the ground. Went to train. Be back at lunch, Izuku Midoriya, that will buy me 2 hours. I pulled out my walkie-talkie. Kurogiri, am at the lodge, portal me, I said. Understood, Kurogiri said as a purple portal appeared. Once inside it disappeared behind me. Tracker is placed. Turn on the receiver, I said as the receiver turned on, showing 2 dots. One is moving closer towards the other slowly. All right, I said I was going train and be back at lunch, which is in 12:30. So where are the others? I asked. Right here, a voice said. I turned to see a bunch of people. So, we have black and white Deadpool, a zombie, a girl who looks like she's missing communion for some crazy religion somewhere, a guy who looks 2 years younger than me, Juggernaut, a lizard man, a dude who really needs to see a dentist, a magician, and I got nothing for you, I said. And you're a child. Who is this? The zombie asked. This is the one they call Night Shot, Kurogiri answered. You're kidding. So what's a goody two-shoes like you doing here? The zombie asked. Here to save my partner from being a pile of dust, I explained before turning to Kurogiri. Anyway, I'm on the clock if I want this mission to end without getting caught. Indeed, that's why we are appointing you leader of this vanguard, Kurogiri said. That makes my life easier. All right, I'll need names and quirks, unless you want to keep my on-the-fly nicknames, I said. I am Twice. No, it isn't. Our quirk is Twice. It could make copies of anything I touch, Twice explained. I'm Dabai. My quirk is Cremation, Dabai said as his hand started emanating blue fire. I'm Himiko, and my quirk is Transformation. Depending on how much blood I drink, I can transform into them, and I want your blood, she said, getting way too close. Oh, okay. Next, I said. The name's Mustard, and my quirk is Poison Gas. Mustard said. I like Juggernaut, but my name is Muscular, and my quirk allows me to expand my muscles, thus increasing my strength. Juggernaut said. The name is Spinner, and my quirk is Lizard. Spinner said. The name is Mr. Compress. My quirk is Compress. It could compress anything into something as small as a pearl. Mr. Compress explained. Moonfish. Blade Tooth. Moonfish said. Magnetism. It could make any human have a magnetic field. Men is South Pole, girls are North Pole. Magni explained. All right, let's get started, I said before Dabai cut me off. Hold on, Night Shot. What's your quirk? Dabai asked. Nothing, I said. You're quirkless. Seriously? Dabai asked. Yeah, and that didn't stop me from kicking the butt of the boy we're trying to capture, I said as I looked at my phone. 10 on the dot. All right, we have 2 hours till lunch, so let's go over the plan, I said. We all gathered around a table with drinks and the receiver showing where Bakugo and the others are. So Mustard, I'll need you to expel sleeping gas, then the combined numbers of 1 and 1 be down, I said. Got it, Mustard said. Dabai, light the forest on fire, make the heroes and students jumpy, I said. Dabai just nodded. Spinner, Juggernaut, Moonfish, Magni, you're on offense. Keep the pros off our backs. Fight to subdue, not to kill. The last thing we want is to kill the friends of the person we want to recruit, I said. Understood, Magni said. Got it, Spinner added. Disappointing, but understandable. Juggernaut said. Yes, Moonfish said. Twice make clones of Dabai. Confuse the teachers with multiple sightings of the same villain. I explained. Yes, sir. That's a terrible role. Twice said. Okay, Mr. Compress. Compress some of the stray students. Thin their numbers. Once the mission is accomplished, release them. I said. Shouldn't we bring the compressed students with us? Dabai asked. No, because what if Bakugo resists? Then we have a bunch of powerful students against us. The smart move is to thin their numbers so they won't chase after us when we get Bakugo. I explained, which leaves the capturing unit. Himiko and I said, which got a happy gasp from Himiko. Why you too? Dabai asked. Her quirk mainly. As for me, I beat Bakugo in the sports festival. Subduing him shouldn't be hard. I said as I glanced at the time 11:45. I should head back. Talk through the walkie-talkie if you need me. Hirajiri, a portal a little ways into the forest? I asked. Understood, Hirajiri said. I stepped out of the portal, rolled around to get dirty, then headed to the lodge. Once there I saw Aizawa, Mendeley, Pixie Bob, Eri, and a kid. Hey, what's up? I asked. How are you just going to fly over the danger? Pixie Bob asked. Well, maybe you shouldn't have told us to get here through any means necessary. I asked. Besides, you said lunch was at 12, so I booked it. I said. Lunch is in 12:30. Mendeley said. Oh, well, this is awkward. Oh well. I shrugged. Before looking at the kid. So whose kid is this? I asked. No one's. He's my cousin's kid, so I'm looking after him. Mendeley said. Say hi, Koda. I walked over to him, as I sense a murderous intent coming from him. I got ready. Hey, I'm Izuku Midoriya, I said, extending my hand. He looked at it before pulling back for a punch at the reproductive area. I caught it before he ended the Midoriya bloodline. Well, that was rude, I said. He growled before pulling his hand back. People like you, trying to be heroes, showing off your flashy powers. Well, I'm not one of those people then. I don't have a flashy power, I said. Wait, you're 100% quirkless. I'm surprised you didn't know that. Mike made that fact heavily apparent in the sports festival. I said. We haven't watched it. So the quirkless student who won the sports festival was you? Pixie Bob asked. GHK. No, I got second place. The quirkless student who did win was a friend of mine. I said. So 2 quirkless students made it to the final event. Those same 2 made it to the final match. I finished. As I walked over to Eri. Wanna see more yo-yo tricks? I asked as she nodded with excitement. Yeah, she exclaimed. Well, your luggage is in the boo. No, it isn't. It's right here, I said as I held up a capsule. They looked at me like I was insane. Did you fall on your head before this point? Mendeley asked. No, I asked as I pushed the capsule and tossed it behind me, revealing my suitcase from the smoke. It's right there. How? Pixie Bob asked. I didn't respond as I dug into my luggage. Here it is, I said as I pulled out the yo-yo. Alright, watch this. This one's a doozy. Eri was amazed by the yo-yo tricks. So much so that she wanted to try some out. Though she had a hard time grasping the easier tricks, she eventually learned them. Look, I'm doing it, Eri exclaimed, as she just executed the baby cradle, which was really impressive for a 6-year-old. You did it. Sniff, I'm so pro. Finally, a loud voice yelled as someone fell onto their face in exhaustion. Oh, class 1 is finally here. Wanna show them your new trick? I asked. Okay, Eri said as she tapped the yellow-haired kid. Go away, he muttered. Oh, okay, she said, sounding defeated, but I gently placed a hand on her shoulder. Let me show you how it's done, I said as I walked over to the red-haired kid, squatted down and leaned into his ear. Wake up, dang it, I yelled, which caused him to shout up in alarm. He yelled before realizing what happened. Man, that was messed up. You did tell a kid to go away, so we're even, I said before nudging my head towards him. Go on, show him your awesome trick. Right, she said as she took a deep breath and did the baby cradle trick. I did it again, Eri exclaimed. I know, awesome, I exclaimed before turning towards the yellow-haired kid. Right. Why yeah, awesome, he praised, which made Eri smile. Show me another Zuko, Eri said. All right, after dinner, K? I asked as Aizawa, Mendeley, and Pixie Bob wanted everyone's attention. Everyone let out a whine, saying how they were supposed to do this in 3 hours. That kid did it just fine. He even destroyed a dirt monster all by himself, Mendeley said. But he used his boots and flew over the forest. The pink girl I know all too well, Ashido countered. So, I asked, which got everyone's attention. What was stopping Yaoyorozu from making jet boots for everyone as well? I asked. Yaoyorozu's eyes shot open before hanging her head in shame. I apologize, everyone. Oh great, now I made her feel bad, I muttered as Eri walked over to her. Wanna see my yo-yo trick? Eri asked. She's trying to cheer her up, bless her soul. Oh, Yaoyorozu said as she looked at me. Why yes, I would like that. Oh okay, this is, what is it called again, Zuko? Eri asked. It's called Baby's Cradle, I answered, ignoring the snorts and giggles from everyone else. I wear that name with pride and respect. Yeah, this is baby's cradle, Eri said as for the third time in a row, she did it perfectly. That was excellent, Yaoyorozu said before managing to make a yo-yo for herself. She clearly struggled with it but took it like a champion. Do you know how to walk the dog? Yaoyorozu asked before demonstrating it to her. Her eyes widened with awe and wonder. No, how did you do that? Eri asked with a smile plastered on her face. She's having a good time, and I am going to ruin it. I can only hope she forgives me. Dinner came and went. The boys went into the hot spring to bathe and ease their nerves. Then some great boy decided it would be the best idea to climb the freaking wall to sneak a peek. As he was climbing, I ran inside to get my jet boots. Once I put them on, I tightened my towel as tight as I could before flying up there. Why, kid, I yelled. He stopped dead in his tracks as I hovered above him. Now, here he is on the other side of this wall. Now we could do this in 2 ways. 1, you could climb back down so you won't get to see. Or 2, try to climb up and get kicked in the face so hard that you will grow a 5th bum on your head. Make your choice. He took the hint and climbed back down. Once he made it back down, I slowly made my descent before smacking him in the back of the head. Oh, he yelled before glaring at me. Oh, you have no right to be angry. And if I see you perving on my Eri again, I will shove an incendiary grenade so far up you. Midoriya, Ada yelled before making chops in the air. That is not a way to treat a fellow classmate. Ada yelled. I'm in general studies. He's not my classmate at all, I said, so I can threaten him with shoving flaming explosives up high. Doesn't matter, that's unbecoming of a hero, Ada said. With a huff I backed off. Fine. After drying off and changing into something more comfortable, the boys headed into their quarters for the night. I laid down on my futon while everyone else was sleeping away. Makes sense, they just trudged through a forest full of dirt monsters. Aizawa and Vlad King were in another section of the boys sleeping away, talking about training and whatnot. So I was pondering while laying on my futon. Then the door slid open. I glanced towards the door to see Eri clutching a blanket. She walked over to me. I don't know the other girls. Can I sleep with you? She asked. I wanted to say no and tell her she needs to be with other girls, but she gave me the sad eyes. Fine, we can watch a movie, I said. Yeah, she exclaimed, but I shushed her. The others are trying to sleep, I whispered, so be extra quiet. Okay, she whispered back. Good. Now let me grab my C-pad, I said as I headed towards my luggage. Once I was there, I pulled out my walkie-talkie. No one signal me with this walkie-talkie tonight, unless you want the mission to fail immediately, I whispered before shoving it inside my suitcase and wrapping it in clothes as a muffler. Can't be too careful. Eri and I sat together to watch The Lion King. It's a classic, and will surely lull her to sleep. While we were watching this, Eri began to ask a question I was not ready to answer. Izuku, what's a dad? Eri asked. Boom, right through the heart. A dad is someone who will take care of you, someone who will be with you while you grow and lead you to a good life, I explained. She seems content with that answer as she continued watching the movie. Then she crashed during Scar's song. I put the C-pad to sleep and adjusted her so she could lay down in a not back-hurting position. Then we went to sleep. Snap. I shot awake and looked around. Who did that? Who's there? I asked frantically. Then I saw a red-haired kid holding a phone at my face. Eri asked, clearly startled awake. Then immediately fell back asleep. Phew. All right, explain yourself before the fist go flying, I said. Sorry, just wanted a picture, he said before showing me the picture. He was shaking, expecting me to be mad. Can you send that to me? I asked. He asked. Can you send that to me? I asked as I held out my phone. He looked confused for a second before taking my phone and sending me the picture. Thanks, I said before stretching. I checked my phone. 5 a.m., which is I'm pretty sure morning time for us. I walked over to my luggage and pulled out a packet of post-it notes and wrote a note for Eri. Training. Decided to let you sleep. Come out when you want, Izuku. I wrote and placed it on the C-pad with a postscript that said, P.S. Don't finish the movie without me. All right, let's go. The red-haired kid, who introduced himself as Kirishima, to which my eyes shot open in realization, we headed outside to start the training. Others had Quirk training while I has a special variant. Izuku Midoriya. Weapons training. Mr. Aizawa said. Oh ho ho, I'm excited, I said as I walked over towards the 3 weapons on the table, a staff, 2 smaller staves for dual-wielding Akamai Forte, and a bow. I picked up the bow. Long range could do me wonders, I said. All right, as for the rest of you, Mr. Aizawa explained everyone's Quirk training exercises, while I fiddled around with the bow trying to get a feel for the positioning. As soon as I got the hang of it, I felt something tug on my pant leg. I looked down to see Eri. What is it, Eri? I asked as I grabbed a blint arrow. What can I do? Eri asked. Do you have a quirk? I asked as she flinched. Why, yes, but it's evil, she muttered looking down. No, that's not gonna fly here, I said as I squatted down. A big muscular guy once told me that quirks are never evil, it's how they could be used as evil. What is your quirk? I asked. It could rewind a person. It could rewind them to before they were born. She stuttered. That scum of a person overhaul must have put that thought in her mind. Well, then learn to control it. That way you can rewind a person just enough to save them from being hurt. I said, that way it won't be an evil quirk, but a super mega ultra awesome quirk. I said, a super mega ultra awesome quirk. She repeated, exactly. You can save millions of people, Eri, but you have to train it. I said before looking around. Yo Aizawa. I called out as the tired and done man walked over to us. What is it? He asked. Can you help Eri train her quirk? I asked. He raised an eyebrow at me. What is the quirk? Aizawa asked. It's called Rewind. It was Rewind people, and I want it to be a super mega ultra awesome quirk, she said with excitement. What she means by rewinding people is that she could rewind a person to a previous state, but she doesn't know how to control it from being with he who shall never be named. I explained. So, please? I asked. Aizawa said as she looked down at Eri. I'll see what I can do. Bye, Eri. I waved as I pulled back the arrow I grabbed and aimed at the target. Bye, Dad, Eri exclaimed. F-whip whoosh thunko. My arrow sailed past its target, and hit someone in the head. I felt the whole area go silent, as the sounds of people's quirks being used suddenly stopped. SSSS she just called you Dad, the yellow-haired Kaminari said. I heard that. I yelled. That's so cute. Ashido squealed as a pair of floating gloves started doing it too. I ignored everyone and continued my archery practice. They eventually left me alone, thankfully. After many hours of quirk training, dinner finally came around, and we were tasked with cooking our own meals. I went out to get firewood and I had a rather unorthodox idea to light my fire. I set a bunch of firewood far away from the other cooking areas, pulled out an incendia. Midoriya, I'll light your fire for you, Yaoyorozu yelled, realizing what I planned to do. She created a lighter to light my fire for me. But my method would have been way more fun. I whined as I got back to making curry. Thankfully, over my years at that horrid place known as the orphanage, I swear I'm building my own orphanage when Melissa's and my hero agency starts booming. Like heck, we'll serve subpar food. Anyway, back at the orphanage there was little food for me, let alone any good food. So I snuck into the kitchen and made myself some food. It took a lot of trial and error, but wait, what is Kaminari doing to my pot? I grabbed the knife I was using to chop vegetables with and threw it at his direction, lodging it on the support beam, but garnered everyone's attention. Just what do you think you are adding to the curry? I asked while gripping another one. Adding some spice, Kaminari said. Eri hates spicy food. Back off, I growled as he backed off. Geez, remind me never to piss off Papa Midoriya, I heard Jiru comment. Dang straight, I said as I added some diced sweet potatoes to the curry. Everyone else finished their curry and already started eating. I, on the other hand, am a perfectionist. Is it ready yet, Zuko? I'm hungry. Eri wind. I smiled and bopped her on the nose. You can eat, I said as I took out the spoon and tasted it. Perfection, or you can eat right, I said as I served her a bowl of curry and rice. All it'll cost you is a little patience. She took the bowl and sat down with the others. I took the curry off the fire and served myself some and joined Eri at the table. Man, Midoriya, you took your sweet time. The dude with tape arms, Zero commented. I decided to let Eri prove my point. She took a bite, before proceeding to eat it rapidly. Calm down, Eri. It's not going anywhere, I said. But it's super mega ultra awesome, she exclaimed. I just laughed. You can eat, or you can eat right. All it'll cost you is a little patience, I said as I ate some of my curry. You learn a lot under certain circumstances. I saw Yaoyorozu dig her spoon into my curry and eat some herself. She said with a smile. The others around me and Eri looked at each other, then at my pot. Before you even think what I think you are doing, I said before turning to Eri. Want seconds? I said before looking towards the trail. Koda was heading up towards the mountain. Want to see if Koda wants some? I asked. Yeah, Eri said as she served some curry on a plate and began walking towards the path Koda was walking on. I should follow her. No, Koda doesn't exactly like me at all, so I'll let Eri handle this. Soon it was lights out and Eri was out like a log the minute she entered the boys' sleeping area. Once I was certain everyone was asleep or out of earshot, I exited the sleeping area. Once I was a few ways away from the lodge, I looked around. I know you're there, Himiko, I said as she dropped from the tree. Oh, how did you find me? She asked as she got wide to close. So what are you doing out here so late? She asked with her grin that showed off her rather sharp canine teeth. I came out here to clear my head, I said as I sat on a log that was laying on the ground. She sat next to me. Why are you thinking about me? She asked with an ever-growing smirk. No, but good try though, I said as I looked up at the starry sky. Don't you think about how different your life would be if things went differently? I asked. Well, yes, Himiko said. Had I not have chosen to wear this outfit, I might have scared you away. Himiko said. I'm serious, I said. Like had I have not become Night Shot, I might have never met Melissa. I might have never gone to UA. I said as I sighed heavily. All the time, Himiko said with a serious face. For once, I always think those thoughts. Every day. Had I have not been born with this quirk, I might have been loved by my parents. Had they not have told me that my quirk is an evil quirk or a villain's quirk, I might have not killed them. She said, had all of that not happened, then I would probably be here right now for a different reason. She said, I relate to that. I said as she looked at me with shock. You killed your parents. I like you more. No, I didn't. Well, not intentionally anyway. I said, I can't believe I'm about to tell my life story to a villain. But maybe she would understand. My father was never there. I assume he left because my mother was pregnant with me. As I was born, while I was healthy, my mother died when she had me. To top it all off, I was quirkless, bastard, orphan, cursed child, quirkless, I explained. The only thing that kept me from jumping off my school roof was the idea of being a hero. I want to make people feel happy and feel better with me protecting them. Of course, decided to take that away too, by having a pro tell me I couldn't be a hero. Himiko didn't respond, but I kept going. So I decided, after reading some Batman comics, I decided to throw all caution to the wind and become Nightshot, the vigilante. I said, so let me ask you something. What's stopping you from becoming a hero? I asked. Because I'm a villain. She said, regaining her smile again. Is that a serious answer? Or, I asked as she glared at me. Look, Himiko said as her face fell to somber, I understand what you are trying to do. But I can't, even if I wanted to. I'm sure the other pros wouldn't accept me. I'm a murderer. But do you want to? I asked. She didn't answer. She looks conflicted. There's an old saying, yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, and today is a gift. That's why they call it the present. I said, if you want to stay a villain, by all means. But keep in mind, if you want to be a hero, Melissa and I could use a third member. I said before standing up and walking away. Do I think what I said got to her? I don't know. Do I think what she told me about her parents was true? No idea either. Was I being 100% truthful with my offer? Yeah, I think Melissa and I proved that anyone can be a hero. All they need is a little push. This is it. The day of the attack. I received word that the rest of the vanguard has arrived and are awaiting the go-ahead. I told them I would call it in when it was time. Right now I'm standing on top of a mountain with Himiko. I decided to bite the bullet and told her to suction my blood as a disguise. Though she wasn't ecstatic like she would have been before. Maybe my words have gotten to her. Well, only time will answer that question. Once she got a cup full, she downed the whole thing and transformed into me. She took my place during the training session, telling her to pick the bow and practice archery. Once it was dinner time, I swapped in and cooked dinner, curry again, not that I. And literally everyone who crowded around my pot of curry minded. Buzzards. Anyway, after making a bunch of curry for literally everyone, we literally had to make fireplaces surrounding me so I could make curry for everyone. I feel like Lunch Rush will have some competition later. It was time for the scare competition, otherwise known as the time to attack. I slipped away using the good old bathroom excuse, swapping with Himiko who adopted her disguise of me, while I put on my Nightshot suit and equipment. Once that was on, I stood aside to look for Bakugo on the receiver. He and Todoroki had made their attempt through the scary path. Alright, I have visual on Bakugo. Remember, no killing, subduing. Bakugo will not agree to join if we kill some of his friends. Got it? I asked. The voice of agreement was with everyone. Alright, go ahead, Dabai and Mustard, I said as I put the walkie-talkie on my pouch. I saw smoke and the purple sleeping gas. It's showtime. I stuck to the shadows while the others were stuck with the gas, running from the fire, or fleeing from Spinner, Muscular, Juggernaut, Moonfish, and Magni, all except Todoroki and Bakugo, who were fighting off Moonfish. Time for my grandiose entrance. I jumped into the fray and attacked Bakugo. Nightshot. Both Todoroki and Bakugo asked. Moonfish, keep Todoroki occupied, I said as I pulled out my batons and started attacking Bakugo. No you don't, Todoroki said, sending an ice wave towards Todoroki, until his body glowed bright teal and became a small pearl. What the F, Bakugo said before he did the exact same thing. I picked up the pearl from the ground, revealing Bakugo in what appears to be an unconscious state. Thanks for looking out, Mr. Compress, I said before pulling off my helmet and pulling out the walkie-talkie. Bakugo has been captured. Return to the evac point. Mr. Compress, Moonfish, and I headed to the evac point. This went smoothly, way faster than I expected. Well, makes bringing her back to Eri way faster. Once we were there, I switched the channel on my walkie-talkie as all the others came eventually, with Magni and Spinner arriving last, which made sense. They were actively fighting off the wild pussycats. Everyone here? I asked as everyone nodded. All right, Kurogiri, take us back, I said as Kurogiri appeared. As you wish, Kurogiri said as everyone had portals in front of them. Mr. Compress, I said as I held Bakugo's pearl. Free everyone, I said. Yes, sir, he said as Bakugo's pearl transformed into Bakugo himself. I tightened my grip around his neck as I walked through the portal. Deku?" he asked as we arrived at the bar or the trading point. Shigaraki was there with Melissa in his grasp. "Good work. Now, give me Bakugo," he said, extending his other hand. "You sold me out," Bakugo yelled. "Quiet, and hold on for a second," I said as I looked around the room. "I want to do the trade with Kurogiri," I said. "You don't trust me?" Shigaraki asked. "No, not at all. Especially since you can kill her with one more finger," I explained, "just a precaution." "Fine," Shigaraki said. Knowing he was going to get Bakugo anyway, he handed Melissa to Kurogiri. He brought Melissa over to me, and with a fluid trade, Kurogiri grabbed Bakugo and I got Melissa back. "A pleasure doing business with you, Mr. Nightshot," Kurogiri said. "Deku, you bastard," Bakugo yelled. No, I said as I pushed the talk button on the walkie-talkie. "It's been a pleasure doing business with you," I said before pulling Melissa away from the wall. "Detroit smash," All Might yelled, bursting through the wall in grandiose fashion. Once he broke a hole through the wall, some old guy jumped past him and knocked out Kurogiri, Mustard, and Dabai. Then Kamui Woods ensnared everyone with his quirk. "I can't believe that worked." Flashback. "You saw what?" I asked. "I saw everything, Sir Knight," I said. "It's my quirk. If I make eye contact with someone, I could see their future. It only works once a day, so I saved it for our meeting." He explained. "But that doesn't matter. You're Nightshot." I flinched at what he said. "How far did you see?" I asked. "Far enough to know you're going to take on the hero killer, Stain, as well as something else." He said. "What is it?" I asked. "After you take on Stain and beat him with another, a girl, the League of Villains will appear holding her hostage." He explained. "How do I get her back?" I asked, worried out of my skull for Melissa's safety. "We should get All Might in this meeting," he said, sounding distressed at that idea. "It's not my place to intervene. Besides, I have bigger worries on my head right now." End of flashback. "You all right?" I asked, mentally scarred. "But fine," she joked. How did you see so far ahead?" Shigaraki asked. "I have my methods," I explained. "Wait, you planned this whole thing?" Melissa asked. "I couldn't tell you. I needed this to be as convincing as possible," I said before looking at Bakugo. "Same with you. The villains would have realized something was wrong if you didn't fight for your life," I explained, as I subtly handed her the backup collapsible pole she made in case she broke it. She took it and put it in her back pocket. "You little, so this is Nightshot," Kamui Woods said, looking at me. "Not what I expected, but it's still impressive how a kid managed to best the hero killer," he said, "let alone a quirkless kid. I'm going to ignore that last part. Anyway, that's only a third right. I almost failed at saving the kid in native. Oracle over here saved my skin and their skin fighting off Stain while his quirk slowly wore off." I said. "I see. I wish I would have sent you 2 training offers," Kamui Woods commented. "You did. You just weren't in Hasu," I added. As we were talking, Muscular expended his muscles to break free of Kamui Woods' attack while Moonfish opened his mouth to shoot out blades. But a red string punctured them, knocking them both unconscious. It was Edgeshot, Pro Hero number 3. "So, young Midoriya, tell me, what made you go down this path?" All Might asked. "Now isn't the time for my origin story, but this is basically teenage rebellion at its finest." I said. "I'm quirkless, and someone told me that the job of a pro hero isn't made for quirkless people." I explained, with got All Might to wiggle uncomfortable. "I don't hold what that person said against them. I now know that they said that to protect me, but I'm not exactly known for common sense. So I said to that idea, watch this, as I worked hard cleaning up the Dagaba beach that was once turned into a dump. That was my form of training while being my good deed of the months. Some things led to another and now I'm here." I explained. "I see," All Might said. "There's a reason why we left those post-it notes on the villains and crooks we caught. Quirkless, we get the job done. It's our mantra, as well as a wake-up call to those who don't have a quirk, saying you can be a hero if you really want to be." I explained, before turning to All Might. "Does that answer suffice?" I asked. "Why, yes it does," All Might said. "There's also a petty reason, like how there are some pretentious jerks who think that since they have quirks they're better than all of us," I said as I smacked Bakugo on the back of the head, to which he growled at me. "So, it was worth it showing them that quirkless get the job done. I wish I placed my agency in Hasu," Kamui Woods commented. "If it will make you feel better, I'll go to your training next year," I said. "Why yes. Now, time to take these villains away," All Might said, before I cut him off. "Just a second," I said, which caused All Might to pause his statement. I walked over to Himiko. "The offer still stands. You can still become a hero, you know." "Oh, just shut up," Shigaraki yelled as silver goop started to form around him. Brain things started to crawl out of the gray good. "In Namu," All Might yelled as more gray goop was enveloping everyone. All the villains, Bakugo, and Melissa. Izuku, Melissa yelled as I turned around to grab her, but she disappeared. "No, All Might yelled. "They are gone. All of them are gone. Wait, that tracker." I pulled it out and turned it on. They're at Camino Ward." "All Might, I yelled as he knocked the Nomus away. What is it, Midoriya? All Might asked. I know where they are, I yelled as I held out the tracker. Follow me, we have to save them. Melissa's POV. Splash cough cough, where am I? I asked as I looked around frantically. Bakugo was behind me, and the other villains were in front of me coughing as well. I looked around to see piles of rubble. Other pro heroes are on the ground wounded and unconscious, and Best Jeanist was on the ground, heavily wounded, and there was a menacing-looking man. Ask Sensei, Shigaraki said as he looked at the man. You failed again, huh, Tamura? The man said as walked towards Shigaraki, but do not be discouraged. Just try again. I have brought your associates back as well, he said, even these children, because you judged that they were an important piece, he added as he extended his hand. Do it over as many times as you need to. That's why I am here. It's all for you. The pure aura surrounding this man is horrifying me to my very core, but I have to stand tall. I struggled to pull out the extendable pole from my back pocket, ready to stand at opposition, at least long enough before Izuku could get here. Now, get to the man said before looking towards the sky. Everyone including Bakugo and I turned to see where he is looking at. Izuku is heading this way. Midoriya's POV. I see them, down in the crater, I'm not too late. I flew down towards the guy in the suit. All for one, if what All Might told me is true, then he's the top priority to attack. I flew down towards him, activated my braces and punched him with my right arm. Night shot. No, Izuku Midoriya. Where is All Might? The man asked, instead of worrying about him. I said as I pulled out a sticky concussion grenade and stuck it to his arm. You should worry about who is in front of you first, I yelled before flying away. The blast staggered him, but if he is the big bad guy behind the league, it won't keep him like that for long. All Might now, I yelled as he plowed a hole through a fallen building. As he zoomed towards him from behind, I flew towards him from the front. Heroes, All Might yelled as he hit him square in the back and I hit him square in the face. We get the job done. We both yelled, which managed to daze him for a bit. You handle this guy. I'll provide backup to Bakugo and Melissa, I said as he nodded. Go. All Might yelled as I flew over to them and pulled out my batons. Bakugo, I yelled. He growled before setting off mini explosions in his hands. I know, he said as the rest of the vanguard, minus Mustard, Dabai, and Kurogiri pulled out their weapons. The fight for our survival has begun. All for One has blown away All Might with a combination of quirks. All Might, Bakugo yelled. He'll be fine, I yelled as All for One punctured the unconscious Kurogiri, making him open a portal to who knows where. Then All Might jumped from where he was launched to, and launched himself from the air back to the fight. He hinked constantly to Mura. You still have much more room to grow, All for One yelled as he floated up to the air to meet All Might in battle. All Might and All for One collided fists, while Mr. Compress put Kurogiri, Dabai, Muscular, and Mustard into pearls, as the rest of the vanguard brandished their weapons and looked ready to attack, though Himiko looked hesitant. Himiko, I yelled as I blocked Spinner's sword. Come on. You don't have to do this, I yelled as I dodged Mr. Compress's touch. You can still be a hero. Shut up with your stupid rhetoric, Shigaraki yelled as he kept swinging at me with an open palm. All I could do is dodge. If I hit him hands with my batons, he would disintegrate them. I kept dodging while she stopped attacking altogether. She's a villain, and that's all she will ever be, he yelled as he kicked my legs, staggering me before pushing his hand towards my face. Now die. Ching swish. I fell onto the ground, witnessing something I didn't expect to happen. A knife flew into Shigaraki's hand, causing blood to leak from the wound. Shigaraki was too in shock to scream in agony. I know what I want, Himiko said as the rest of the vanguard saw her walk toward our side. I want to join Nightshot and Oracle, she said as she pulled out 2 knives. Fata girl, I yelled as I pulled out the other baton. It 4v4 now, I said. They neatly turned the tides with just one move. They got us, All for One said as he used his forced quirk activation on Mr. Compress as he reached into his pocket and released Kurogiri, who was still unconscious. Take Kurogiri and go, All for One said. Sensei, go. If you get captured here, then the League of Villains will be no more, All for One said. But Shigaraki didn't move. So be it, he said as he used another quirk to levitate both Kurogiri and Shigaraki towards the portal. With one push of a hand, he shoved both Kurogiri and Shigaraki into the portal as it closed behind them. Quick, while they're distracted, I yelled as I grabbed both Himiko and Melissa and activated my jet boots. Due to their weight and mine, we weren't flying as fast, so the villains tried to hit me out of the sky before I could get away with Himiko and Melissa. Magni brought Mr. Compress and Spinner towards her so she could launch them towards us. Mr. Compress sailed towards us to get us out, but a blue-haired girl knocked him out of the way first. I don't think so, she yelled. Wait, Hado, I asked, as she turned to nod at me in the flesh. She said. Magni, not deterred by this, pulled Spinner close for another launch, but Ryukyu dropped in and stopped them before they could accomplish their action. We landed back onto the ground, where Tagada and Amajiki appeared to ask if we were all right. As they asked that, All Might got hit through more buildings. Amajiki, can you take Himiko and Melissa out of here? I asked. Sure. Why? He asked. Tagada, I said as I removed my helmet. We have to help All Might, I said, which got a shocked look from everyone. Are you insane? Melissa asked. He's not like the hero killer. He's leagues ahead of him. I know, but we have to help All Might. He's getting beat out there, and he's holding back because there are people still trapped in the buildings. I said, that's why Tagada and I need to back him up and help him take down All for One. I said, but why me? I know about it. Don't be coy with me, I said, which caused him to flinch. I learned it from Sir Night-Eye. I know what you can do, so you can either shake in your boots and let All Might take the beating, or put on your big boy pants and help me fight. I said, either way I'm going, so I would appreciate some backup. Another boom and shockwave was felt. Before Tagada made his decision, I'll help you. Mirio, I have to help All Might. If I can't save one person, then how can I save 1,000,000? He asked before looking at me with a nod. Good. Now Hadu, I have one thing to ask you. I said, what's that? She asked. Tell Rukyu to look for civilians in the wreckage, I said before handing my helmet to her. This has an X-ray function on it. It'll help you locate some civilians, rescue as many as you can and ease the burden off of All Might. I said, all right, she said before Amajiki carried Melissa and Himiko away from here, as Hadu took the helmet and rushed to Rukyu. I looked at Tagada. Ready? I asked. He nodded. As ready as I'll ever be. Melissa's POV. Amajiki landed Himiko and I in front of a massive screen in Kamino Ward. It was broadcasting the battle with All Might and that man. They traded blows, only to separate when a mini explosion was at the man's feet. Tagada and Izuku joined the battle, and for the first time, showing the world the face behind Nightshot. The news broadcast was showing only the footage, with only the announcer's voice instead of the audio of the battle. I have to know what they are saying. I pulled out a capsule from my back pocket and activated it, revealing my laptop from my time captured by the leak. I opened it up and pulled up the cameras, hoping that one of them still worked even with all the destruction. There's one. I pulled it up, and it was relatively close to the battle. I pumped up the volume to maximum and placed the audio feed onto the news feed. No one's POV. Ready, Lemillion? Yes, let's take this villain down. Nightshot. Nightshot. The crowd watching the feed and hearing the audio asked, isn't that Midoriya? Yaoyorozu asked while watching the news from her hospital bed. The quirkless guy, Ashido asked, watching it from her hospital bed as well. 10 million is Nightshot. Hatsum asked, so the one who captured Bakugo. Todoroki asked while sitting in the hospital common room, was him all along. That boy, from the sports festival. He saved me from the hero killer. Ida muttered to himself. What are you two doing? This is my fight. Yeah, a fight you are losing. So we're here to help you beat him, while Rukyu and the other pros help with the rescue operation. But, it's against the law. I've been breaking the law for months now being Nightshot, and he has his license. Fine, I'll accept your assistance. You act like we would have left if you said no. Let's take this spawn of garbage out and go home. 3 against 1. That's hardly fair. All for One said as he expanded his muscles with a wide variety of quirks, while also terraforming the ground to whatever he sees fit. Fine then, come at me heroes, he said. With pleasure. Izuku, Lemillion, and All Might began to rush towards All for One, while All for One was morphing the ground to try and stall them. Whether it'd be creating dirt pillars to crush them, creating pits on the ground, or a straight-up dirt wall between them. All 3 of them began to dodge in different directions. Lemillion with his quirks of permeation as well as his quirk that was passed down to him by All Might himself. One for all, he phased through the dirt pillars and walls and continued his rush. All Might went with a more direct approach, smashing the pillars that came towards him and dodging them with his great speed. Izuku, however, was strictly dodging with his jet boots, as well as running on the pillars to get closer. How annoying, All for One said as he prepared to blow them away with his wind quirk, but was stopped by a blast of flames. Endeavor has arrived from battling the Nomus, as Edge Shot also began stalling the villains so Izuku, Lemillion, and All Might could get closer. Enough. All for One yelled before blowing them away with both hands. While he was distracted, Lemillion leaped onto All Might's pillar, and Izuku followed close behind with his boots, charging together towards the villain. Once the pillar reached its end, Lemillion and All Might leaped into the air, while Izuku flew with them while they all pulled back for a punch, to overcome the crisis in front of you, and giving everything you've got, quirk or no quirk, and save people, no matter the cost. That's what makes someone a hero. Enough with this emotional trite. All for One yelled as his arm expanded to astronomical levels, using a combination of spring-like limbs, kinetic booster ×4, strength enhancer ×3, multiplier, hypertrophy, rivets, airwalk, and spear-like bones. I shall extinguish the symbol of peace with my ultimate combination of quirks. He yelled as he rushed towards us, pulling his fist back for a punch as well. The crowd was startled by the sudden growth of his right arm, but they kept cheering. Tetamize the UKU. Melissa and Himiko yelled. Beat him Mirio. Amajiki and Hadu cheered. All Might. The crowd roared. Night shot. Eda cheered. 10 million. Hatsune yelled. Beat him. All of Japan collectively cheered. Triple Detroit SMAASSSHHH. Their punches collided as a massive tug of war was held for the three heroes and All for One. 1 million. All Might. Get down. They flinched but did as told, as Izuku took the front of the punch but reached back for his last incendiary grenade. Gutsy boy. All for One yelled as he did the same combination of quirks on his left arm. But it's game over, he said as he pulled back for a punch. Yeah, game over for you, Izuku said before throwing the sticky incendiary grenade at All for One's face before deactivating his jet boots, causing him to fall from the punch and the explosion. Gah, All for One yelled. Now, Izuku yelled as he reactivated his jet boots as All Might and Lemillion jumped up to join him in the final blow. We will show you what it means to go beyond, plus, ULTRAAA. They landed a combined blow at the dazed All for One, and with their combined strength, launched him towards the ground causing a massive tornado of dust, debris, and literal buildings. Once the tornado disappeared, it showed All for One, laying face down on the ground not moving a muscle. We die, Izuku said before plummeting towards the ground in exhaustion. Lemillion launched himself to the ground and caught Izuku before he hit the ground. The crowd went silent, until the newscaster filming the whole thing started to tear up. That's when Izuku saw it. All Might's muscle form has went away, revealing his natural form to the populace. The crowd as well as all of the people watching at home was cheering at the fall of the villain and the victory of the heroes. It didn't matter if he wasn't the muscular form everyone knows and loved. He saved them. They saved them. Lemillion carried Izuku back to where Hadu and Amajiki are. They led the rescue to the pros while they went to safety. Once they met up, Izuku was swarmed by Melissa and Himiko. It started with them yelling at him for doing something so boneheaded like rushing face first towards the danger. Then Melissa pulled him into a hug, then planted her lips on his. It was sudden and caught Izuku off guard, but he eventually eased into it. Once they parted, Izuku saw the sad look on Himiko's face. Are you just going to stand there? Or are you going to come hug us? Izuku asked. Himiko looked at them with shock, before rushing over to hug them in happiness. The happiest she's ever been. She finally has someone. No people who want her for who she is. She has someone who believes she can be a hero. And she will never take that for granted. But all happy moments must come to an end. Izuku Midoriya, Melissa Shield, Himiko Toga. Come with us please, the head detective, Naomasa Tsukachi said. Soon, they were driven to UA, where Principal Nezu, Aizawa, Vlad King, and every staff member was present in Principal Nezu's office. Welcome Night Shot, Oracle, and Himiko Toga. We have much to discuss. Midoriya's POV. Let us start with, where is Eri? I asked, worried that she isn't here. She is fine. She was worried as to where you were, but after watching the fight, she was relieved that you were all right. Aizawa said. I exhaled a sigh of relief. Back to the topic at hand. You two have committed great crimes. Principal Nezu said. Our law books condemn acts of vigilantism as a serious crime, not to mention harboring a villain. Look, I understand the first part, but she doesn't want to be a villain anymore. She fought with us while protecting Bakugo. I explained. Be that as it may, she's still a villain, and thus there are consequences to harboring one. Nezu added. So what, she's a villain? I asked, raising my voice. Haven't any of you learned anything from all this? Let him finish, Midoriya, Aizawa said, as I quieted down. Yes, all of what I said is true, but your actions as Night Shot while illegal saved many lives, all the while bringing a villain closer to the light. To that we are grateful, Nezu said with a bow. But, I asked, there is always a but. But, you three will be under watchful eye, specifically Himiko Toga. Nezu explained. We are taking a big risk letting you three attend UA. We do believe that you three can become heroes. Aizawa said. Yes, we did learn something from your endeavors as Night Shot. However, due to your actions in the past, we have a zero-tolerance policy. Step out of line once, and you're out of here. Midnight said. Himiko Toga, if I see you draw blood outside of practicals, as well as with the use of knives, and you're out. Midnight explained before looking at Melissa and I. You too. No more vigilante acts. Starting tonight, Night Shot and Oracle the vigilantes are gone. She said before smirking. However, Night Shot and Oracle, the quirkless pro heroes, start today. Are you serious? I asked with shock and excitement. You two have more than proven yourselves of being capable of becoming pro heroes. Himiko, however, has yet to prove that to us. Vlad King said. I won't let you down, she said as she dropped her knives and blood suction device onto the floor, completely de-equipping herself, signifying she's starting fresh. I'll keep a close eye on her, I said. Good. Now run along and talk to Eri. She misses her dad. Midnight teased, which caused my face to heat up. Dad? Melissa asked. It's a long story. We headed to Eri's location, which was right next door to Nezu's office. Once we opened the door, Eri jumped up to hug Melissa and I. She was crying. I was so scared, she said, crying into our legs. I know, we're sorry. Melissa and I got caught up in something we shouldn't have, I said, but we're here now, and we won't leave you ever again, Melissa said as she pulled back from our legs. Why, you mean it? She asked, her eyes still watery. Promise, I said as Melissa promised too. Oh, okay, she said as she wiped her eyes clean of tears. Oh, and this is Himiko Toga. She's our new partner, I said as Himiko shyly waved. Yuri looked at her before walking towards her. Hi, she greeted. Hi, she greeted back. Yuri was wary of her, but she's grow closer with time. Anyway, it was late, so we brought Himiko to our apartment. We only had one room, so I offered to sleep in the living room. Which reminds me, I need to talk to Melissa about the kiss. Once we were home, Himiko immediately went to bed, as did Yuri. It was way past her bedtime. The only reason she was up so late was to make sure we were okay, so that left Melissa and I alone. Well, no time like the present. Hey Melissa, about that guy. I like you, she said simply. I am sorry, I asked. I like you. I just didn't know when was the appropriate time to say it, she admitted. I was hoping to say it during our celebration. But one thing led to another, and I couldn't find the proper time to say it. Then Stain was defeated. Then I was captured, and when he was beaten, I just acted, she said. Oh, I said while blushing. I never got over my nervousness around girls after all. Well, I like you too, I admitted. Why, you mean it? She asked. Why, yeah, and the kiss was nice, I said, which got her to blush equally as red. The air was tense and the room was silent. So what now? Melissa asked. I don't know. How do we even go about this? We're Nightshot and Oracle. We're training to be pro heroes. Will we even have time to date? What if I ruin everything? What if I said before Melissa held my hand. I am nervous about this too, but we'll figure it out, she said before kissing me on the nose. Together. Why, yeah, I said with a smile forming on my face. Together. Will you two stop being sweet? It's giving me diabetes, Himiko yelled before closing the door behind her. The air felt tense again. I'll get the blankets, I said as I rushed into the storage closet and grabbed a blanket. Why, yeah, good night, Melissa yelled before rushing to her room. Once I was all alone, realization sank in about everything that has happened over the past few months. I became a vigilante, met my now girlfriend. Yeah, girlfriend. She became a vigilante as well. We beat the hero killer and saved one of the students at UA. Got captured and blackmailed by villains to kidnap my childhood friend and bully. Saved Melissa only for her to be taken again. Fought the vanguard I led. Brought Himiko to our side. Beat all for one. And in turn, ended the days of Nightshot and Oracle the Vigilantes. Now, we are Nightshot, Oracle, and whatever Himiko wants to name herself, the aspiring pro-heroes. Times 10 years later. Whoosh. All wings report in, I said as I heard 2 more jet boots land beside me. Oracle standing by, Melissa said. Red Sun, standing by. Himiko said. All right, are the others there? I asked. Yes, Tsukuyomi, Creati, and others are there as backup, Melissa said. All right, let's go. This is our first mission. Nightfall. We get the job done, we all said as we hopped down. This is the birth of our hero agency, and our collaboration as Team Nightfall. Okay, sadly the chapter is over, and if you enjoyed the video just leave a like, and subscribe with post notification, so when the next chapter is ready, you will be notified. Okay, see you in the next video. Bye.